All right, good morning, everyone. I have that it is 8 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Julie West, and I am a benefit counselor here at MPERS, and I'll be presenting this morning. We also have Mary Jordan in attendance. She is going to be moderating throughout our part of the webinar. And then later we will have Kate Coos from Deferred Comp join us, as well as Jill Cleathermos from Employee Benefits. And so they're going to be speaking with you about your options in retirement with regards to your deferred comp and your health insurance and your life insurance. So I just wanted to put my camera on for just a minute so you can see that I am a real person. Yay, I look a little bit different than my picture that you saw whenever you were kind of in the waiting room. So, but that's okay because that's what age does to you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and then we're going to get started. We have a lot of information to cover this morning. And so hold tight and we are going to get started here. Let me hide my camera. All right. So for those of you who are in attendance this morning, this is the close plan and year 2000 plan pre-retirement webinar. If you are a member of the 2011 tier and you were somehow able to register, then just know that while you're welcome to listen in, a lot of the information in here will not apply to you, so it could be a little bit confusing. We do have a webinar specifically for 2011 tier members. It is held later this month, so you can register for that one if you want to. It'd be more applicable for you. All right, first we have a few little housekeeping tips here. So if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, on the right-hand side of the screen, we have a snapshot of the dashboard. This little red arrow at the top helps collapse or expand the dashboard if you want more viewing room on your monitor. The next one is to mute or unmute your microphones, and we actually go ahead and we mute everybody because if you can imagine, having a bunch of people's background noises while you're trying to present is never a fun thing. You can also make your screen full screen or put it in a little window by this next icon there. And then you can raise and lower your hand if you want to. Now, as far as questions go, I'm going to address that here in just a moment. I do have one handout for you in the handout section, and it's from Deferred Comp. We usually will put a PDF version of our pre-retirement reference guide in this section, but for today what I've done is I've actually put it in the chat, the little chat box, and it goes to everybody and it's a link. So we're putting it on our website. You can access it at any point in time that you would like, and so that link should be live in there. If you have difficulties accessing it, just know that you can go to our website and get it directly. Now, as far as if you have questions throughout the presentation, there is a questions box in your dashboard. What I would like for you to do, instead of raising your hand, is go ahead and enter the question for staff. And so you can enter the question, send it, and then Mary will go ahead and respond to that question while I'm presenting. As you can imagine, it's a little difficult to present and to respond to questions simultaneously. Just know that we do have 2 breaks this morning, 3 if you count the one between us and Deferred Comp. So just know that those breaks will be about 5 minutes long. Sometimes they might be a little bit shorter simply because of time constraints. Questions that might come in, I'll try to check in with Mary at the end of each break just to see if there are any questions that came in that maybe the whole group would want to know. And then we do have a survey that populates at the end of the webinar or when you leave the webinar, it will populate. So please make sure that you go ahead and you fill out that survey. We look at those and we try to make adjustments based on those survey responses. And then this webinar is being recorded and it will be included in a link. It'll be included in a message sent emailed to you at the email address you registered for your GoToWebinar link with. And so you'll receive it tomorrow And if you haven't taken that survey yet, then you'll have a reminder for that as well. It'll be all in one message. All right, let me introduce the benefits team to you. We have Mary Jordan. She's our senior benefits counselor. She has been here for over 26 years. I think yesterday she said 27 years maybe. And so she has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience with retirement. And so she is basically like our little encyclopedia here in human form at the office. Again, my name is Julie West. I'm a benefit counselor here. I've actually been at MPERS for a little over 6 years. In August, I transitioned from the communications role to a benefit counselor role. So I'm really excited for this new role. And then our next benefits team member is Bev Wilson. And Bev has been at MPERS for a little over 22 years. And so she has also got a lot of knowledge and know-how with a lot of the technical aspects of the benefits processing. She is our benefit auditor. So that's our benefits team. So anytime you call in, you'll probably get one of us to help you out, or if you send us a message or anything, we're the ones that will be responding. The way that the seminar or the webinar this morning is going to go is we kind of divided it up into 3 sections. We have a pre-retirement prep section where we'll talk about the plans, benefit calculations, payment options, backdrop, and the cost of living adjustment, or the COLA. The next section is about the retirement 2-step. We talk about the step 1 and step 2 retirement process. Step 3 is where we wrap it with a bow. There was a lot of information we wanted to share. It all didn't kind of fit together under one heading, so we just put wrap it with a bow. So we'll talk about employment after retirement, divorce, death, different resources, and then we have a little bit of honorable mention, some parting things just for you to think about when you're looking at retirement. I will share with you that of these 3 sections, that first section takes the longest because it is the heaviest with content. The next 2, we usually go pretty quick. My part of the webinar this morning will be roughly about 2.5 hours, and then deferred comp and employee benefits have about 45 minutes each. So that's how it's going to break down for you. All right, well, let's get started. We're going to jump right into the pre-retirement prep section, which again, let me remind you, is the heaviest section. So if you're a note taker, get ready. If you're not a note taker, if I move too fast for you, whatever, you could always review the recording at your leisure in the future. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so let me ask you a question though. How did you prepare for the meeting today? Are you just, thinking, well, I'm just going to see what information I can get? Maybe some of you have been to pre-retirement webinars or in-person seminars before, and every time you go, something different sticks in your brain. So you're here for that. Well, we hope that by the end of this, you'll have a good idea of what the retirement process looks like, what plan that you're in, maybe what your eligibility would be, but we don't expect you to glom onto everything in this presentation. This is just, kind of a exposure of high level information. If you have specific questions as it relates to your specific situation, we really encourage you to contact our office, either by email or by calling us, because that is really the best way for you to get the best information. Well, first of all, whenever we're looking at your retirement, heavens, I skipped right past that. What in the world? Sorry, my mouse is apparently a little jumpy this morning. That's going to be a fun time throughout the presentation. When you're looking at your retirement benefits, the first thing that we need to establish really is what plan are you in, because what plan you're in will determine the course of the retirement process. It'll determine when you're eligible to retire. It'll determine sometimes what payment options that you can choose, and it can determine, backdrop, no backdrop. So if you are in the closed plan, then that means you were hired in a benefit eligible position. before July 1st of 2000, or if you were vested, so if you were hired before July 1st of 2000, but you left employment and came back later, but you were vested, so you had at least 5 years of service before you left employment, then when you came back, you'd still be in that closed plan. The closed plan is a non-contributory, which means that you do not contribute any money to your future retirement benefit through MPERS. And then closed plan members at retirement, they can elect the year 2000 plan. They have the choice between retiring under the closed plan or under the year 2000 plan at retirement. Now, the year 2000 plan members is if you're hired on or after July 1st of 2000, but prior to January 1st of 2011. So this is the plan that I'm in. It's kind of nice because I don't have to choose between plans. So this is when you're in the year 2000 plan, that's the plan that you're in. But it is also non-contributory. So there is not a employee contribution component to this plan. Now, we do offer a 2011 tier plan as well, and that's for those who are hired on or after January 1st of 2011, and there is a contributory factor in this plan, and 4% of their salary is contributed to help fund their future retirement benefit. So that's probably the only thing we're going to mention about the 2011 tier this morning, because this is a webinar specifically for the closed plan and year 2000 plan. So with this webinar, and even with our in-person seminars this year, we've done this for the last couple years now, where it used to be if you've attended a seminar, at least, 5 years ago or so, we used to have a workbook you'd follow along with. Well, that's not the case any longer, because we found that providing your benefit estimate as a guide during the presentation worked well, because everybody wanted to know what their benefit estimate said. And so if we can go ahead and incorporate that into the presentation itself, then that is helpful, and it helps with you guys being able to make it more applicable to you as we go along. So I sent out benefit estimates yesterday afternoon. It was kind of late. It was like around between the 4 and 5 o'clock hour. So hopefully you received them. Those benefit estimates, if you're in the closed plan, you will have received 2 benefit estimates, a closed plan and the year 2000 plan estimate. If you are in the year 2000 plan, you only received 1 estimate. The date of these estimates, as far as the date of retirement listed on these, is based on what you provided during your registration process. The same thing goes with if you see a spouse's date of birth. If it's missing, it's because it wasn't provided during that registration. So if you have your estimates handy, we're going to be going through those kind of section by section. Now your estimate, there is a gray bar along the side of your estimate. And this gray bar is all the personal information and assumptions used to create the estimate that you see in front of you. So at the top of that gray bar, we whited out the bar on this end simply because it makes it easier to read. But on yours, it'll be kind of a gradient gray. And we have your personal information. So we have your date of birth and we have your spouse's date of birth. The spouse's date of birth is essential if you're married, because then different payment options will populate on the estimate. If you didn't provide a spouse's date of birth, but you are married, that's not a problem. We can go in and run a new estimate with your spouse's date of birth in there, or you can do that yourself through your MyMPERS account. Now there's 2 types of retirement that we look at. We look at a normal and an early retirement. Now, to be eligible for each of these types of retirement, you have to meet certain age and service requirements. So for normal retirement on the closed plan, you'll be eligible for that if you meet the rule of 80, or you satisfy the rule of 80. This is also known commonly as 80 and out, and it's where your age plus your service equal 80. If you have to be at least age 48 to be able to participate or be able to meet the rule of 80. So if you started very, very young, maybe right out of high school working, then you may actually have to wait until, I don't know, maybe 49 or 50, depending on when you satisfy that rule of 80. So if you satisfy it before 48, you'll have to wait until 48 to actually retire. Also on the closed plan, if you don't satisfy the rule of 80, then you could meet normal eligibility requirements by reaching age 65 and having at least 5 years of service, or reaching age 60 with at least 15 years of service. Now for our uniform members, they also can satisfy their rule of 80, and that would make them eligible for normal retirement. But they also have a couple of different eligibility guidelines, one being age 55 with at least 5 years of service. And then for all uniform members, retirement's mandatory at age 60. So those are the normal guidelines for the closed plan. Now for the year 2000 plan, that also has the rule of 80, but the age 62 with at least 5 years of service is different than the closed plan. And for our uniform members, it's the rule of 80 or the mandatory retirement at age 60. So if any of these are satisfied, then you would be able to retire under normal retirement guidelines. Now, if you're interested in retiring early, you may have the option for early retirement. Early retirement in the closed plan is defined as age 55 with at least 10 years of service. Now you will take a reduction of 0.6% for each month that you retire before normal retirement, each month that you retire before normal retirement. So there is a reduction in your benefit. Some of you in attendance today, I noticed that some of the dates that you provided that you were interested in retiring say early, and that's fine. That's not a problem, but notice that on your estimate, there will be a reduction for retiring early, and there'll be a reduction factor based on the number of months that you actually were retiring before your normal retirement date. For our uniformed members in the closed plan, there is not an early retirement option, mostly because you would reach, as a uniform member, you would reach normal retirement guidelines at the time that these early retirement guidelines would be in place. So that's why there's really no option for a early retirement for our uniform members. The year 2000 plan, early retirement is for civilian and uniform. They're both the same. If you reach age 57 with at least 5 years of service, and then there is a slightly less reduction on the year 2000 plan. It's 0.5% reduction per month. So now that we've discovered, what plan that you're in, those eligibility guidelines. So we were basically looking at what plan am I in, when can I retire, which is those eligibility guidelines. Let's look at how your benefit is actually calculated. So your benefit is a defined benefit. So we are a defined benefit plan. And what that means is that your benefit for the future is determined not by how much you contribute to your plan, but it's determined by a formula that's set by law. And this formula includes your credited service, a multiplier that's set by law, and your final average pay. We multiply all three of these components together, and it comes up with a base benefit. So if you're looking at this benefit formula and you're wondering if I can get more money in the future, well, you can by working longer or seeking out promotions or different positions or something that might boost that final average pay. Now we're going to discuss each piece of this formula. So first we're going to look at the credited service. So if you take a look at that gray bar, the assumptions box there on your estimate, you'll notice that there is a section for credited service. Credited service can be membership, it can be purchased service or transferred service. It could also be unused sick leave, and we're going to look at each of these types of service. Membership is pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of any service that you've worked with MoDOT and the patrol, any service that you have already transferred in from another state agency under the Missouri State Employees Retirement System. And this is actually membership. So any service that you've worked or you've already purchased and or transferred in. Okay, so if you're looking at this purchase or transfer, the next line down, this is if you had put in when you were doing your estimate, I want to see, you know, how much 4 additional years of service if I bought it would affect my benefit. That's where that information would show up. Now, as far as service transferring, just know that any benefit eligible service with a MPERS covered agency would be eligible to be transferred in. MPERS is the Missouri State Employees Retirement System. So when you look at the state of Missouri, there are two really, I mean, there's a lot of retirement systems, but there's really two that cover the majority of the state employees. One is MPERS, that's us. We cover the highway patrol and MoDOT, and then our MPERS employees, okay? Then you have MOSERS, and they cover all of the other state agencies. And so if you have service under MOSERS that you would like to transfer in, you can always let us know. We can tell you kind of how to go about that process. I actually did that myself. I had 8.5 years under a combination of a couple different agencies before I started working at MPERS. And whenever I started working at MPERS, I had all of that service transferred over so that it was all under the MPERS system, and I didn't lose a single day of accredited service. So that was a big factor in me trying to decide if I wanted to stay under MOSERS or go to MPERS, but it's nice to know that it can transfer back and forth without losing any of that. Now, for our closed plan members, you may be able to have some service transferred in that's non-benefit eligible service if it was served with MoDOT, the Highway Patrol, or a MOSERS covered agency. So if you're a closed plan member and you had maybe some previous work then that's non-benefit eligible, then you may be able to transfer that in and get credit for it. Now, there are a few types of service that you can purchase that I want to mention, and they include non-federal public employment. This service has to be full-time, and it includes city and county government, public schools, and the University of Missouri system, and even some special road districts. This is limited to service that has been actually worked in the state of Missouri. For military service, you must purchase all that you are eligible for up to 4 years of service that was worked prior to you working for the state. Any military service that you have while you are working for the state doesn't need to be purchased because you're getting credit basically for service because you're working for the state. So you can't really double dip and get credit in both places. It would just be credit for while you were still working. If you are interested in purchasing military service, you will need to provide a DD-214 that shows an honorable discharge and or possibly an annual point statement to start that process. The best way to start looking at a service purchase, especially military, if you're interested, is just to contact us and we can help lead you through the process because it's not a something that you could do on your own. We don't have that tool available. You'd have to contact us directly. Now for our uniform closed plan members only, you may be able to purchase your prior police service. This type of service works a lot like the military purchase in that you have to purchase all that you're eligible to purchase up to 4 years, and it can't coincide with the employment or any other service you're getting credit for. The biggest difference for this is that it can be service credit from outside of the state of Missouri. Again, this is just with closed plan uniform members. If you are a year 2000 plan, uniform member. You may be able to purchase prior police service, but it has to be worked in the state of Missouri, and it would fall under that non-federal public employment. It wouldn't be a specific police purchase service. When you're thinking about maybe purchasing service, there's some other considerations to think about. The options that you have may depend on whether you still have a future retirement benefit due from another retirement system. If so, you may be eligible to use the value of that future benefit to purchase some of the service. Either way, we'll work with you to determine what your options are when you contact us. We can provide you with a cost of purchase or transfer, as well as estimates that show you how that purchase would impact your benefit. Sometimes the cost of the purchase is way more than what the reward would be and how it adds service. So we like to give you the full picture and give you all of your options. If you bought it, this is how it would impact your benefit. This will help determine if it's actually worth looking into a service purchase. So again, if you have service available, please contact one of us benefit counselors to discuss your options. Usually the earlier in your career that you purchase or transfer service, the less expensive it will be. For those of you who are in attendance, you're within 5 years of retirement or you're already eligible. So obviously not early in your career, but if you have a question about purchasing, you can still give us a call and we can help you out. A few things to remember about these transfers and purchases is that they must be completed before you submit your step 1 of the retirement process. So before you submit your notice of retirement, your transfers and purchases has to be complete. You have to be vested to purchase the service, which most of you, all of you, I would assume are. It may increase your retirement benefit in the future. It may make your take-home pay a little bit more. It may move where your retirement eligibility lands, so it may allow you to retire earlier, or it may even put you in a backdrop period. So there's a lot of things to consider when looking at a purchase that you might not think of off the top of your head, but that's something that we are very good at thinking about and giving you information about the whole picture. All right, moving on from service purchases and transfers, credited sick leave is another way that you can get credited service. Unused sick leave will be converted to service credit. So for every 168 hours of unused sick leave that you have, that equals 1 month of credited service added on. Sick leave credit cannot be used to reach retirement eligibility sooner. What it does is it just adds service credit on so that we can, it'll impact your actual benefit calculation. One thing to note is that your sick leave, when on these estimates, when you're looking at your sick leave balance, it does not project your sick leave balance forward. So it doesn't take into account any accruals you might have between now and whenever your projected retirement date of your estimate is. So it's looking at what you currently have. So just kind of keep that in mind. So on this example that I have on the screen, we're going to just take a look to tie that in and see how this individual has 28 years of service. So we have 27 years, 3 months, and 20 days of membership for this individual on the screen now. So on the days, if the amount or number of days is 15 or over, we actually round up to another month. If they are 14 and below, we do not round. So since this member has 27 years, 3 months, and 20 days, we will actually round up, so it would give them 27 years and 4 months. Now they have about 1,500 hours of sick leave as well, and if we divide 1,500 by 168, then that total is 8.92 months. So we only count full months, so that would be 8 months of sick leave added on to their service credit. So when you add that 27 years and 4 months plus the 8 months of sick leave, then you would get 28 years even of service credit. So it's important that you also think about your insurance benefits and how your service could impact how much you pay for your insurance. Jill will be talking about this a little bit later, where you get a subsidy basically for your full years of service. So the patrol and MoDOT will pay 2% towards your retiree premium for every full year of service you have. It maxes out at 50%, which is 25 years of service. Now, whenever we round on this 20-day thing, when we round, that is not included with employee benefits, what they determine for your subsidy. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so I'm gonna actually, instead of doing a break, I think I might just check in with Mary and see if there are any questions so far.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mary. We have had a few questions. Let me look and see if there's any that kind of go along with benefits to the group. Julie mentioned, and just reiterating also, a recording of the webinar will be available in the next few days online. We do not share direct slides along with that. I mean, the recording that shows the whole picture of everything will be there, but we don't share the PowerPoint presentation independently. Let's see, sick leave. There was a question about sick leave, but I think Julie covered all of that. And then as far as service credit that you're able to purchase or get credit for, state of Missouri service with a state employer, it does have to be creditable within MOSERS, the Missouri State Employees Retirement System, to be eligible to purchase it, except for that caveat for some of those closed plan members on that service. I think that covers everything that we have so far. Good questions. I did see a couple that just popped up. I will respond to those and can share those if they're relevant for the group. But I think that covers it for now. So I will send it back to you, Julie.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mary. Appreciate it. All right, so we're going to move right on in to the next part of the benefit formula, and that is the multiplier. The multiplier is my favorite thing to talk about because it is very straightforward. The benefit formula for the multiplier for the closed plan is 1.6%, or in decimal form, it's 0.016. On the year 2000 plan, the multiplier is 1.7%, or 0.017 as decimal. Now in the year 2000 plan, there is an additional benefit called a temporary benefit. This one has a different multiplier, and that is a 0.8% multiplier. And that's why that's my favorite one to talk about, because that was it. All right, so let's move into the final average pay. We get a lot of questions about what your final average pay is. If you look at your assumptions box, that gray bar on the right-hand side of your estimate, if you move on down past that credited service portion and go down to where it says final average pay, some people will look at this number. On my screen, it's $4,379.07. Some people will look at that number and think that's the benefit amount that I'm going to be receiving as a retiree. I would love for that to be the benefit amount, but that's actually not the amount. That is the amount we plug into the benefit formula to come up with your base benefit. Your final average pay includes, it is the average of the highest 36 consecutive months of pay throughout your entire salary history. And so this includes any of your salary. It can include any type of overtime payout. What we look at though, even if you've transferred service in from a Moser's covered agency, we look at that salary as well. So we look at your entire salary history, and your benefit estimate shows the period of final average pay that estimate is looking at specifically. For your estimates that are in front of you, if some of you have, you know, projected retirement dates that you gave us to run your estimates that are further in the future than others. And what it does is it projects your current salary forward. So if at any point in time between now and your retirement date, you get, you know, pay increases or a big overtime payout or something like that, that could impact your final average pay. It could increase that final average pay. So just keep that in mind. Usually whenever you're getting ready to retire, we run new benefit estimates for you. We run estimates even after you have technically retired, and so that we can check to make sure that your final average pay is correct. Just kind of keep that in mind with your final average pay, is that that number is not the amount that you'll be getting as a benefit each month, but it's what we use to plug into that benefit formula. Now, the benefit formula, again, we talked about credited service, talked about the multipliers for each plan, and then we just talked about the final average pay and how all these components multiplied out will equal your base benefit. So what does that actually look like? On the front page of your estimate that you have in front of you, or on your screen, or wherever you are looking at it, you will see how we calculated your life income annuity benefit amount. So this is where we take that credited service, that multiplier that applies to the plan that the estimate is for, and your final average pay. And you can see in this estimate for this example, this person had 28 years of service. They're in the closed plan, so their multiplier was 1.6%. Their final average pay was a little over $4,300. So their base benefit is $1,961.82. So that's what they would be looking at on the closed plan monthly. You get paid monthly as a retiree, which is a bit of an adjustment for some, but some people like it better. I don't know. I'm not one of those people. So in the year 2000 plan, if you have a year 2000 plan estimate, what I want to show you is this is in the same section of your estimate as the closed plan. It's on that front page, kind of in the middle, how we calculated your benefit. And you'll notice the top line, the 28 and the 28 years of service, the 1.7 multiplier, and then that final average pay. That line comes up with your $2,084.44 lifetime benefit. But then, unlike the closed plan, there's an additional line of a benefit formula. That one is the temporary benefit. If you retire before age 62, then you would receive that temporary benefit in addition to that base benefit. So if you retire before age 62 and you retire by meeting the rule of 80 or 80 and out, or if you're a uniform member and you retire under mandatory retirement at age 60, then you would receive this temporary benefit. A temporary benefit, again, it's called temporary benefit because it is actually temporary. So when you turn 62, the month you turn 62, you will still receive that benefit. The next month, that benefit will be gone. Some people take that opportunity to look into possibly drawing Social Security at 62. Some people will look at pulling maybe from their deferred compensation plan to help bridge that gap from where the temporary benefit fell off. So really, ultimately, what you decide to do at that time is up to you, but regardless of what you decide to do, that temporary benefit will always end at age 62. Now for our closed plan uniform members, we have their basic benefit calculation of, their credited service multiplier and average pay, but they actually get an extra third in their benefit. That extra third is payable for lifetime, and it carries over to survivor benefits. I forgot to mention, I'm going to go back a slide. I forgot to mention that this temporary benefit does not carry over to a survivor benefit. So if you choose a joint and survivor benefit payment option, which we're going to discuss here in a little while, if you choose one of those, then that joint and survivor payment option just looks at your base benefit. It doesn't look at the temporary benefit. Spouses are not eligible for that temporary benefit. But for uniformed employees, in the closed plan, they get that extra third, and that is for life. Now, if you're a uniform member in the closed plan hired prior to January 1st of 1995, there's also a special benefit of $90 per month for each month that you are not gainfully employed, and that benefit ends at 65. All right, that was not a lot going on during that time frame for any questions, but Mary, I'm just going to check in real quick again with you and see if there were any questions that came up about that benefit calculation or anything.
Not specifically on that part. I've got a lot of questions I'm responding to, so we'll check in when we get closer to the end of this segment.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. All right, so the next part of this section is about payment options. Now, I had mentioned joint and survivor payment options previously, but just know that with your payment options, you will see on the front of your estimate the different payment options. As a retiree, we will pay you a monthly benefit for your lifetime, okay? That's a given. You will get a monthly benefit for your lifetime. However, when you pass away, the option that you have selected at retirement tells us what to do with your benefit payment. Who do we pay? How much do we pay? So if we take a look at, let's cover the life income annuity benefit payment option first. This payment option is available to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're married or if you're single. There's no reduction in your monthly benefit. And this benefit payment will pay you for your lifetime. Then when you pass away, there's no benefit to be payable to anyone. So there are no survivor options with a life income annuity. The next payment option we're going to look at is the 50% joint and survivor. If you're married at the time of retirement, you'll have an additional payment option of joint and survivors that are only available to the spouse named on that retirement election form. So the first one is this 50% joint and survivor. With the closed plan, there is no reduction in your benefit if you choose the 50% joint and survivor. So that's why it's called a free 50% joint and survivor on the closed plan. On the year 2000 plan, there is a reduction in your monthly benefit if you choose a joint and survivor payment option. Normally, with retirement plans, there's always going to be a reduction in your benefit if you're choosing to have a survivor or your spouse be paid after you have passed away, because not only is that plan looking at paying you for your lifetime, it's also looking at paying your spouse once you pass away, paying your spouse for their lifetime. So the fact that the closed plan offers this free 50% joint survivor payment option is really big and something to consider if you're trying to choose between the closed plan and the year 2000 plan. The year 2000 plan, that reduction factor is based on the member's age at retirement and the age difference between the retiree and their spouse. Now, notice that there is no reduction in that temporary benefit. Well, that's because spouses are not eligible for that temporary benefit. So the surviving spouse benefit would actually be 50% of the lifetime benefit and would not include that temporary benefit. So when you're looking at your estimate for year 2000 plan members and year 2000 plan estimates, if you take a look at your estimate, you'll see that the second column is the retiree base benefit. The next column is the temporary benefit, and then the total benefit column. But the survivor benefit column is the one that's, at the very end. So you'll want to kind of compare that retiree base benefit column with the survivor benefit column whenever you're trying to decide if you would like to do a joint and survivor payment option. I left the life income annuity line on each of these just so you could see what kind of reduction that is. Now, if you were to choose a joint and survivor payment option and your spouse would pass away prior to you, then just know that your benefit would pop up to that life income annuity amount. And then at some point in the future, if you were to remarry, then you could choose a joint and survivor payment option if you wanted to again, and that reduction would then go back in place. Now, the 100% joint and survivor payment option is where your spouse would receive 100% of your benefit if you were to pass away. Again, this is only available to the spouse that's named on your retirement election form if this payment option is chosen. Either of these, the closed plan, year 2000 plan for 100% joint and survivor, there is a reduction in your benefit. The reduction is based on the age of the member at retirement and the age difference between the member and the spouse. So this would show that your spouse would receive 100% of that base benefit. Something to remember is when you're looking at your benefit estimate and these numbers represent what your benefit would be at the beginning of your retirement journey, if you will. There are cost of living adjustments that will be applied to your benefit, so these numbers do not stay stagnant. They will increase over time. Now, guaranteed monthly payment options are available to everyone regardless of marital status as well. The closed plan is 60 or 120 months, which is a 5-year or a 10-year window. The year 2000 plan is 120 or 180 months, which we look at as 10 years or 15 years. So a retiree will receive the reduced base benefit for their lifetime, and the reduction can vary based on your age at retirement and the plan that you elect. Let me give you an example of these guaranteed payments because I think that's probably the easiest way to explain them, if you will. So let's look at the closed plan for, let's say, 120 guaranteed payments. So I, as a retiree, am not married, and I don't have any children, and so my health is kind of wishy-washy. I'm like, I'm not doing that great, or maybe I just received, a diagnosis that is less than favorable. And so I'm going to get ready to retire. And I would like to leave or to allow somebody to receive my benefit. But since I'm not married, I can't choose a joint and survivor payment option. So I think about doing this life 120 guaranteed payments. So I go ahead and I choose that. I name, let's say, my niece. I name my niece as the beneficiary for that benefit. So when I retire, the 120 payment countdown starts when I receive my first benefit payment as the retiree. So let's say that I receive 60 benefit payments, which is 5 years. And then my health really declines and I end up passing away. Well, then my niece will receive the remaining 60 payments until all the payments have equaled 120. So that allows for someone to name any type of beneficiary they want to. It doesn't have to be a spouse. They can change beneficiaries at any time they want to with the guaranteed payment option. They can even name a charity if they wanted to for these guaranteed payments. Now, what happens if I actually outlive that 120 payment window? If I outlive that 10 years, well, I still, as the retiree, will continue to receive my benefit each month for my lifetime. And when I pass away, because I will eventually, we all do, when I pass away, then there's no benefit to be paid. So something to consider about these guaranteed payments is that there is a reduction in your benefit each month. Now, if you outlive that window, your benefit does not pop up to the life income annuity. If your beneficiary that you've named has passed away before you, that benefit does not pop up because you can name a different beneficiary at any point in time on these guaranteed payments. So just kind of keep that in mind with the guaranteed payments. Is it a popular payment option? You know, it's hard to say. I think all of our payment options apply to people differently and appeal to people differently, depending on their situation. So really, we just need to make sure that this guaranteed payment option is understood because it is confusing. But we can explain it again to you if you still have questions about it. But right now, we are going to go ahead and move forward. What in the world? I think I keep accidentally hitting my mouse scroll button and it's like moving my slides. All right. Well, what happens when you retire and you want to change your payment option? Can you change your payment option? Well, there's only 3 circumstances in which you can change a payment option. The first one is if you're single at retirement and you have selected the life income annuity payment option. And then you end up getting married a little bit later down the road. At that point, you can choose a joint and survivor payment option within 1 year of your date of marriage. There will be a reduction in your benefit if it's not a closed plan, 50% free one, but there'll be a reduction in your benefit the month following that change. Another situation or circumstance that would allow a change is that if you were married at retirement and you chose a joint and survivor payment option, well, then your spouse ended up passing away before you, and then your benefit popped up. I kind of discussed that a little bit earlier. If you then remarry, you can change back to a joint and survivor payment option within 1 year of marriage. And again, that benefit reduction begins that month following the change. If you wait till outside of that 1 year of marriage, then you can't make a change. Now, this last one is kind of a newer one within the last few years. So if you're married at retirement and you chose a joint and survivor payment option, and then you later divorce, you would have to get a divorce decree amended. Let's see, it would have to be what we call a survivor reversion. And your benefit would then pop up. But we have to have an amended divorce decree, basically stating that your spouse is relinquishing all rights or ownership to any type of benefit that you would have. Then your benefit would pop up, and then later if you remarry, you can change back to a joint and survivor payment. Otherwise, if you're married at retirement and you choose a joint and survivor payment, if you divorce and you don't get this divorce decree amended, then when you pass away, we will be paying the spouse that is listed on that retirement election form. Okay. So I'm going to continue actually because I'm not going to stop with questions here, but we do have a break coming up. And so I think what we're going to do is we're just going to take a quick little, we'll do 5-minute break. And then we'll come back and see if Mary had any questions over the break, and then we will continue, okay? So go ahead and come back around 9 o'clock. Welcome back, everyone. All right, we're going to check in with Mary before we get too deep into the backdrop section. So we're going to check in with Mary for some questions. Mary, take it away.
All right, there we go. Thank you, Julie. We have had several questions, so good questions. Keep them coming. Some of those topics are, I guess there's talk of some pay raises that may have taken effect February 1st, or some pay raises that may be coming down the line in the next month or so. We do not have specific information on those pay raises yet. Nothing of that is included in any of the estimates that were emailed to you yesterday. So you have to be paid for specific new salary or pay raises before that information will show up on the retirement estimates that you either print online or that we provide to you. So once you've received a paycheck with some new pay that you're expecting, if you want us to run new estimates or you have questions about that, feel free to reach out to us after that. Let's see, I had a question about how long do survivor benefits last? So if you are taking the joint and 50% or the joint and 100% survivor option, that survivor benefit will be paid to your spouse for their lifetime, okay, after you pass away. Let's see, any other questions? A few questions about the reduction factors for those joint and survivor options. Specific detail on that, there's a little bit more detail on page 16 of the reference guide. And also in our handbook, I don't have the exact page number, but there are charts in the handbooks of the closed plan and the year 2000 plan that show the exact percentage amounts for those reduction factors. So if you have any questions later on specific to those reduction factors, feel free to reach out to us later. So I think that covers the bulk of the questions recently, and I've got a few more that just came in, so I'll get to answering those. So Julie, I will turn it back over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mary. All right, so now we're going to transition into the backdrop section. Some may have this option on your estimates and some may not, but you can still work towards earning a backdrop if you would like to. There's a lot of factors that you should consider when making your decision at retirement regarding backdrop. But first, let's talk about eligibility for backdrop. To be eligible for a backdrop payment option, you have to work at least 2 years past your normal eligibility date. If you qualify for backdrop on the date of retirement for this estimate, you'll see a box in the bottom right corner, and the backdrop information will be on the second page, or if you printed it off, it would be on the back page of your estimate. So for those of you who the date of your estimate was at least 2 years past your normal eligibility date, you would have backdrop on there. For those of you who did not provide a date that was at least 2 years past, then you would not have backdrop. That's not saying that you're not eligible for it. It just means that the date you provided did not meet those eligibility requirements of being at least 2 years past your normal eligibility date. So let's take a look at what is backdrop. I've been getting this question often lately of what exactly is it? Well, backdrop is a lump sum payment of 90% of the life income annuity benefit that you would have received if you had actually retired on that backdrop date. It can be between 1 and 5 years of backdrop, depending on how long you've worked past your normal date. And it has to be in full year increments unless it is the maximum amount of time you've worked past when you were first eligible. This estimate here that is on the screen shows a backdrop period of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and 3 years and 5 months. That's because this individual worked 3 years and 5 months past their normal eligibility date. Let's move on to what a backdrop date is. So the backdrop date on your estimate is the date that you would have walked out the door, or the day you would have retired. So the backdrop date is listed below the line where that lump sum amount is, in that right above that first column, it has backdrop date. Backdrop does adjust your credited service, and then it does adjust where your final average pay is as well. The backdrop period, these are all terms that you'll need to know when we're going to be discussing this example coming up, okay? So the backdrop period is the period of time between your backdrop date and your actual retirement date. So let's look at an example. This will hopefully clear things up a little bit. So let's say that this is Joe, and Joe is eligible for normal retirement on June 1st of 2023, or he was eligible on June 1st of 2023. So he's not entirely sure if he wants to retire then. You know, it's just nice to know that at that point he can retire should he so choose to, but he just keeps working. And so June 1st of 2024 comes around and he's still not quite ready to retire. And so at that point, he's worked 1 year past his normal eligibility. Now at this point, he would not be eligible for a backdrop payment option because he's only worked that 1 year past. Now, he keeps working. So June 1st of 2025 comes around and he's now 2 years past his normal date of eligibility. And so at this point, he could choose a 1 or a 2 year backdrop if he wanted to, but he has decided that he's still going to continue to work because he's just not quite sure if he wants to retire yet. So he keeps working, and June 1st of 2026 rolls around. He's now 3 years past. And then finally something happens. Mentally, he is ready to go. So he chooses to retire on November 1st of 2026. And at that point in time, he will be 3 years and 5 months into his backdrop period. Okay. So this is his backdrop period, that June 1st of 2023 to November 1st of 2026. That's the backdrop period. Let's see here. The next part of the example is that, so he's choosing to retire November 1st of 2026, right? So if he were to choose a 1 year backdrop, then that would put his backdrop date at November 1st of 2025. So he could choose that 1 year backdrop. That would put his backdrop date at November 1st, 2025. If he chose a 2 year backdrop, his backdrop date would move back 2 years to November 1st of 2024. If he chose a 3 year, it would move it back 1 more year. And then if he chose his max backdrop, then it would be 3 years and 5 months, because that's the most time that he has worked past his normal retirement date. Now, please keep in mind that this is just an example. You can do more than 3 years and 5 months of backdrop. He could do up to 5. So if he wanted to continue working until, you know, June 1st of 2028 or longer, then he could have easily chosen a 5 year backdrop, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1 year backdrop. It's just that since he worked his maximum work that he completed past his eligibility date was 3 years and 5 months, and it did not exceed that 5 year mark, then he could choose that 3 year and 5 months. Okay. Now, anytime in this backdrop period, or where these backdrop dates, keep in mind that what's included there what that lump sum includes. That lump sum amount of backdrop includes cost of living adjustments that you would have received during that time frame. It also includes the temporary benefit if you're a year 2000 plan member. What it does not include is that salary earned during your backdrop period that you've chosen. It also does not include comp and overtime payouts during that backdrop period. So I want to make sure that you understand this part, because backdrop is a little bit confusing. So when you reach your normal eligibility date, we do not need to know that you are going to be in your backdrop. You can just keep working. You don't have to tell us, hey, I'm going to do backdrop, or hey, I'm not going to do backdrop. It doesn't matter. You just keep working if you want to. And then when you are ready to retire, if you happen to be 2 years past your eligibility date, your normal eligibility date, at that point, when we run an estimate for you, backdrop will show up as a payment option. However, just because it does doesn't mean that you have to take it. When you're looking at your estimates in front of you, the front page of your estimate will show you what your benefit would be if you don't take backdrop. The back page of your estimate, or the second page of your estimate, if you have backdrop payment options on there, you'll want to take a look at what your monthly retirement benefit will be based on the lump sum amount that you're taking, or the amount of backdrop that you're taking. Usually there's kind of a trade-off. Your lump sum payment, the higher your lump sum payment usually, then the lower your monthly benefit will be. So it's really important to make these decisions based on what you would be comfortable with living, what you would be comfortable with receiving as retirement income in the future. So not only would you receive that lump sum payment, though, you would still receive a monthly retirement benefit. It's just a lot of the time that retirement benefit is reduced because you're taking you're taking that lump sum payment. But also keep in mind that in that backdrop period, if you receive any pay increases, overtime payouts, or anything like that in the period of backdrop that you decide to take, then those pay increases do not count towards your final average pay. So just because you reach normal eligibility, and if you keep working, there's a misconception that any pay increases or anything that happens after your normal eligibility date don't count towards your final average pay. And that's not correct. When it doesn't count is whenever it is in a backdrop period that you are choosing at retirement. So just kind of keep that in mind. Again, something that's important is this reminder of backdrop. You know, when you select that lump sum payment, it may decrease your monthly retirement benefit. Not always, but it might. So it's important to really look at your estimates to see how it impacts your benefit. Compare apples to apples, you know, make sure that you're looking at what you can live comfortably on as take-home pay. So we can't give you advice on whether to take a backdrop or not. Really, it's going to be up to you, but what we can do is just educate you on how it may impact your benefit. Now, if you decide to go ahead and take that backdrop distribution, that backdrop lump sum, how do you actually get the money? Well, there's 3 different options that we have for payment. One is cash, and when I say cash, I always picture like the Monopoly guy with big bags of money coming to your doorstep, but that's unfortunately not what happens. It's just a direct deposit, so a little lackluster, but it's a distribution that's made directly to you, and we call it cash. We do have to withhold 20% in federal taxes off of that cash distribution to you right off the top. And then there could possibly be an IRS early distribution penalty that we don't assess. It would be possibly on your taxes whenever you file. So we don't withhold state taxes on that distribution, but that's not to say state taxes are not owed on it. So that's up to you. It is taxable income that year that you receive it. So keep that in mind as well. It might mess up your tax bracket a little bit. So if you're really considering taking a backdrop distribution as a cash distribution, I would really recommend speaking with a tax advisor or even a financial planner prior to making that decision, so that you can really get an overall picture of how it would impact your income, not just from your pension, but your overall income as an individual, or if you're married in a family. So please, that's what I would recommend. Now, the other option you have is you can do a rollover. You can roll over directly to a financial institution. It could be deferred comp, which a lot of people will choose, another IRA, or another eligible employer plan. It is not taxed it's not taxed by us, but it will be taxed when you withdraw it from the receiving plan. Let's see here. When it's rolled into another plan, or if it's rolled into deferred comp, it will take on that tax characteristics of that plan. So you'll have to discuss with them what implications will happen whenever you get distributions. And Kate will be talking about that in her presentation later this morning. And so whenever she's speaking about that, if you have any questions, if you just type them in, I'm sure she'll be able to answer them at some point. Excuse me. You also have the option of a combination. You can do a cash and a rollover combination. Take a part of it in cash, in which we withhold taxes, take the other part in a rollover. And so just the tax implications for each would apply to each part of that. We do have a special tax notice brochure on our website that will provide additional information regarding taxes and that backdrop distribution. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and skip past that questions time. We're gonna give you some examples of backdrop here, just so that you can kind of get a real life example. These are all examples of people who have come through and retired. Obviously, the names have changed. Obviously, these are not actual member photos. So, but these are situations that have occurred. All right, so let's meet Janie. Janie is retiring at 61 and she's single. She has 28 years and 8 months of service. She is eligible to retire under the rule of 80 and is considering the year 2000 plan with a temporary benefit to get her by until she can draw reduced Social Security at age 62. You may wonder, who may take the year 2000 plan at age 61, knowing that that temporary benefit stops at age 62. And just as important, like, how does backdrop affect her monthly benefit? So she told us she can't really work any longer and needs the temporary benefit to pay her bills, which is understandable. But let's look at her benefit estimate. All right, so if she takes no backdrop, her monthly benefit would be $2,489. If she takes a full 5-year backdrop, her benefit drops to $1,866, but she does receive almost $93,000 in a lump sum payout. So she really is looking at taking $623 less per month for the rest of her life, so that she can get that around $93,000. She needs to weigh the advantages and disadvantages of this. So the advantages is she could pay off some debt. She could put $20,000 into deferred comp. She could roll that part and then take the rest in cash. Deferred comp pays an average around 2% interest. So on that $20,000, it'd be about $400 per year that she would earn at deferred comp. Disadvantages, well, the big glaring one is that it's $623 less per month for life. And then if she lives until 90, that's a loss of $131,000 plus cost of living adjustments. Now, 90, you might be thinking, well, that's, a little optimistic. Well, in this situation, one of the reasons that she was looking at retiring was to help take care of her mother, who was actually in her 90s. So, there's a chance that she could live to be 90 or past, because longevity is in her family. So what did she decide to do? She went ahead and she took that full 5-year backdrop. She paid off her debt, and then she has a small savings in deferred comp, which she'd never had before. Is that a good choice or is it a bad choice? It may not be the choice you would have made, but it's the choice that Janie made, and she was at peace with it and she was happy with it. And so she is enjoying her retirement and is glad that she made the decision that she did. One of the tools that can really help you with your decisions in the future, yes, we provided a benefit estimate for you. However, if you have never ran a benefit estimate yourself, you can go into your MyMPERS account on our website, and you can actually run as many benefit estimates as you would like. And so you can run different scenarios, put in different dates of possible retirement. The first part of the estimate is where you would say, hey, I just want to use my first eligible date and see where that brings me. Or if you want to try to see if you're eligible for early retirement and when that might be, you can choose that as well. The next section is to generate an estimate using a specific date of retirement. This is where you could put in dates to at least 2 years past to see what a backdrop might possibly be, how it would impact your monthly benefit. So that spot right here on the estimate tool is where you would put in the date of possible retirement if you want to look into backdrop options. If you're thinking about maybe changing careers and leaving your position at MoDOT or Patrol, you could use an anticipated date of termination to see how that would impact your benefit. Because although you're vested and you're eligible for a benefit, it will impact your benefit and when you can draw with regards to if you were to terminate early before you were eligible to retire. And then the last part of the estimate tool is where you can put in your spouse's date of birth so that those payment options will come up, that joint and survivor payment option. And then, or if you're interested in trying to see how maybe a 4-year service purchase would impact your benefit, you can put that in as well on this section. And then when you hit calculate, it'll bring you up an estimate and you can print it out and it'll look like the estimates that you have that I sent you yesterday. Excuse me, my throat is getting very dry. All right, so we're going to switch gears just a little bit here and talk about cost of living adjustments, or COLAs. Who receives a cost of living adjustment? Well, that would be everybody. On all of our retirees receive a cost of living adjustment. Closed plan members, year 2000 plan members, and even those 2011 tier people, they also receive a cost of living adjustment. That is based, the COLA is based on 80% of the change in the consumer price index for urban consumers, and it can range from 0 to 5% every year. Closed plan members receive their cost of living adjustments in October, and year 2000 plan members receive cost of living adjustments during the month of their retirement anniversary or their backdrop date anniversary. Now, some of you closed plan members might be like, wait a minute, what happened to the 4% COLAs? Well, that's just on this next slide. Closed plan members that were hired prior to August 28th of 1997. And if you choose to retire under the closed plan, not the year 2000 plan, those individuals will receive a guaranteed minimum 4% COLA until you have reached your 65% COLA cap. Again, closed plan members do receive their cost of living adjustments in October. And so this 4% COLA would be applicable in October. Let's give you an example of this COLA cap. Usually when you say COLA cap, people are like, I don't know what that means. So here's an example. This individual is a closed plan member hired before August 28th of 97, so they're going to get the 4% COLA because they are choosing to retire under the closed plan. Their base benefit is $2,000. To calculate what a 65% COLA cap is, we would multiply their base benefit by 0.65. That equals $1,300. When the amount of their COLAs that they've received over the years equals $1,300, then they have received their 65% COLA cap. After they've met their cap, then they would receive COLAs based on the CPIU, the 0 to 5%. They would receive the same COLAs that the year 2000 plan members would. Let's take a look at how this 4% COLA can build. So you have that initial benefit of $2,000. First year, 4% COLA, you get $2,080. You can see the second year it goes up and it just keeps building and building. I'm missing a year 6 in there, so it actually builds a little bit better. I think year 6 is in there somewhere. So usually the COLA cap, the 65%, usually that gets met around year 12, year 13-ish. But it's really hard to say when that, if you take a backdrop, then those 4% COLAs are applied to that lump sum. So you may be receiving some in the past for the backdrop period and in the future. So you wouldn't be getting, 12 or 13 projected in the future, but you would still be receiving the same amount of COLAs because your COLA cap would be the same. All right, I'm going to stop here. Mary, are there any questions? It seemed like there may have been a few that had come in.
I do have questions. Okay. So somebody asked about payment dates. When do you get paid for your retirement from us? We pay benefits the last working day of the month for that month. So you just get paid once a month when you retire, as opposed to twice a month that you get paid now. I also had a few questions asking about the reduction factors for survivor options, and I referred them back to the reference guide and then mentioned specific details are found in the handbooks. And somebody asked for a link to the handbook, or at least guidance on where to find that on our website. So I did post a link to the handbook page in the chat section so everybody could see that and have access to those handbooks at any time. There was also a question about upcoming legislation related to your pension benefit, to your retirement benefits. I am not aware yet of any upcoming legislation related to our retirement benefits, but all of that information on retirement related legislation can be tracked with the Joint Committee on Public Employee Retirement. They're a committee that is under the Missouri Senate. And in our recent newsletter that was emailed out, there is a link to that website where you can track that information. I do know their website was down earlier this week, but I did check it before I sent that email out a while ago, or that responded to that question, and their website is back up. And then I had a question about sick leave during the backdrop period. You do receive credit for your sick leave all the way up to your retirement date. Even if you're electing to take backdrop that would move that backdrop date backwards, you do still receive credit for that sick leave all the way up until your retirement. We never go backwards and try to figure out what your sick leave was at a prior date. So I think that covers the question so far.
Excellent, thank you. That's a lot of questions. You've been burning up your keyboard over there. All right, very good, everyone. Keep those questions coming. We appreciate them. We like making sure that we can clarify anything that needs to be clarified. There's things that you may have questions about that we don't cover, just like those legislative pieces, the sick leave and the backdrop, all of that. So excellent questions, everyone. All right, we're gonna run into a new or move into a looking at another example of a backdrop. So this is Brenda and CJ. Don't they look so happy? It makes me long for spring and summer. That picture does. This is Brenda and CJ. Brenda's retiring at age 60 with 29 years and 11 months of service. She'll qualify for retirement under the rule of 80, and she's been the primary supporter of the family, while CJ, he manages the finances. Brenda is looking at taking a full 5-year backdrop because she wants that huge lump sum payment of $140,000. If she takes a 5-year backdrop, then her monthly benefit will be about $2,800. Sorry here, my chart is a little wonky. All right, so if she takes that full 5-year backdrop, her monthly benefit will be around $2,800. But since she's had some pretty significant increases in her salary over the last 3 to 5 years, if she didn't take any backdrop, her monthly benefit would be around $3,600. She'd be taking over $800 less a month if she took that 5-year backdrop. Now that's pretty significant. So they still have to weigh the advantages and disadvantages, right? So a 5-year backdrop advantage. They can pay off their debts. You'll notice that as a reoccurring theme here. Everybody wants to retire and be debt-free. They'll put $100,000 into deferred comp. And then again, with deferred comp paying interest, you can see that it makes a little bit of money while it's in deferred comp. Now the disadvantages, well, the big glaring one, $816 less a month for life. And then CJ, he's like, I'm not sure about living with that much less income each month. So what do they decide to do? Well, she decided to go ahead and compromise and select a 2-year backdrop. They were able to still pay off their debt. They put a smaller amount into deferred comp, and they got more money for their lifetime. And then CJ has more peace of mind knowing that he won't have to give up the things that he loves in order just to survive every day in retirement. And so this is where you can see that taking a maximum amount of backdrop may not work out for everyone. I'm going to go back a couple slides. So you can see that she decided they would take a 2-year backdrop, and that 2-year backdrop gives them $70,000, but their benefit is $3,340. So really, it's a good compromise for them, and they are pretty pleased with that. So it's not an all or nothing thing when you're looking at backdrop. You can take any type of backdrop that falls within that backdrop period. It just, when the numbers feel right, then you'll know which one that you want to choose, if you want to choose backdrop. That's the thing. Just because you're in a backdrop period does not mean you have to choose it. You could just choose not to. Now, for those of you who are in the closed plan and you're trying to decide not only between closed plan and year 2000 plan, but you're trying to decide between the backdrops too, when you're looking at the plan comparisons in the closed plan and the year 2000 plan, there are a few different things that are important to note. Okay, so obviously each plan has a different multiplier. The closed plan is 1.6% and the year 2000 plan is 1.7. The temporary benefit does apply to the year 2000 plan, but it does not on the closed plan. The closed plan has a free 50% joint and survivor payment option, so there's no reduction in your benefit to offer that for your spouse if you were to pass away. Year 2000 plan, there is a reduction for that. Guaranteed minimum 4% COLA for certain retirees. If you fall within that group, then the closed plan offers that to you, but the year 2000 plan does not. You still get a COLA in the year 2000 plan. It's just not that guaranteed 4%. And then there are different eligibility requirements for each plan. So as far as reaching normal retirement or reaching early retirement. So these are all things that really you need to consider. Some people will look at the temporary benefit and the 4% COLAs, you know, on the year 2000 plan, that temporary benefit helps you on the front end, right? It helps you, gives you more money up front. Whereas the closed plan, that 4% COLA, if you are eligible to receive it, builds over time. So how can you see a side-by-side comparison with your numbers from your estimate about these plans? Like how can you see which plan would pay you more? Well, we offer something called the comparator. And some of you I know have probably already accessed the comparator. It's available in your MyMPERS account under the form section. So what this does is it gives you, you can compare the closed plan versus the year 2000 plan, or, you know, if you're thinking about backdrop and no backdrop, if you're in the year 2000 plan and that's the only plan you have an option for, but you do have the option to choose backdrop and no backdrop, this comparator can still help you out there. It basically will help you kind of see where the break-even point is, but it's important for you to have a benefit estimate because the information that the comparator needs is from your benefit estimate. It'll want your retirement date, it'll want your birth date, the payment option you're looking at. It asks for the closed plan monthly benefit, year 2000 plan monthly benefit. It asks you if you were hired in a benefit eligible position prior to August 27th of 97. All of these factors go into each of those, the closed plan and the year 2000 plan, for you to make an educated decision. But what it does is on the left-hand side, it gives you an estimated monthly benefit. On the right-hand side, it gives you an estimated cumulative lifetime total. The areas that are shaded blue are the plan, indicates the plan that pays you the most at that time. So you'll notice that on the left-hand side, you'll see where the closed plan is not shaded blue up until probably about age 62. The year 2000 plan is totally shaded blue up until age 62. And then it switches. It goes that the closed plan at age 62 will pay you more because these people are receiving that 4% COLA. Why is that? Well, that's because that temporary benefit stops at age 62. So it's going to switch over and say, hey, that plan pays you more. Can you switch plans at that time? No, you cannot. You are in the plan that you've chosen at retirement. As far as the cumulative lifetime total, it takes just a little bit longer for you to break even on that one. But you can also include backdrop amounts on this. Would your backdrop impact your decision if you could see it factored into these numbers? So this comparator, if you're not familiar with it, or if you need our help, you know, doing a comparator, running one, accessing it, just let us know. We're happy to help and to provide this whenever we can to you. Otherwise, just know that you're able to do it on your own in your MyMPERS account. Let's look at another real life example of them trying to choose between the closed plan and the year 2000 plan. This is George and Lou. George is retiring at 65 and he has 25 years and 3 months of service in. He is eligible to retire under the rule of 80. Going into retirement planning, he's chosen the year 2000 plan with a temporary benefit to get the largest lump sum amount, okay? So why would you choose the year 2000 plan if you are over age 62? It's a good question. When he chooses a backdrop lump sum amount, if it goes back further, because if he's 65 and he chooses a 5-year backdrop, he'll get the temporary benefit in his lump sum amount for ages 60, 61, and depending on when he turns 62 throughout the year, part of that year as well. So he would benefit from some of that temporary benefit. But let's take a look at his closed plan and year 2000 plan, what they're kind of looking at here. So in the closed plan, the joint and 100% survivor option benefit, his benefit is really reduced by only 7% because it goes by the age difference between him and Lou. If he chose no backdrop, he would receive $1,719 a month. If he chose a full 5-year backdrop, his monthly benefit would go to $1,553.34 a month, but he would receive an $82,000 lump sum. Now, in the year 2000 plan, the joint and 100% survivor option benefit, his benefit is reduced by 18% because on the year 2000 plan, it not only looks at the age difference, but it also looks at the age of the retiree at retirement. So if he didn't choose backdrop, his benefit would be $1,848 a month. But if he decided to take a 5-year backdrop, which is what he had thought he would do going into this, then his benefit would be $1,364.34 a month with a $93,000 lump sum. Now, George is really interested in these lump sums because they have some medical bills that they needed to pay off. So what do you think, George chose? Well, eventually he chose the closed plan with that full 5-year backdrop because that reduction in his benefit for a survivor option was a lot less. He paid off all his medical bills and outstanding debt, and he'll bring home about $189 more a month. And then Lou will have the same 100% monthly benefit available for her lifetime when George passes away. So that's George and Lou. Kind of a different little scenario, but it was a real life scenario, so we thought we would share that with you. All right. We're just going to talk briefly about disability benefits. Now, what if something happens to you and you are unable to work any longer? Well, there are disability benefits in place that can act as a bridge to get you to retirement. So long-term disability is for any illness, injury, or disease, and it can replace up to 60% of your pre-disability income. Work-related disability is for any accident or injury on the job, and it can replace up to 70 to 90% of your pre-disability income. Now, Workplace Possibilities is actually a program that helps you stay at work, and you earn 100% of your income because you're staying at work and you're still getting a salary. And so Workplace Possibilities, basically, it comes in, can assess your workstation, give you accommodations to help with whatever ailment that you might be experiencing, that it'll help you stay at work and avoid going out on disability. All right, so we're not going to do questions just yet because we just did some. We are going to go on another break. We're just going to take a quick 3-minute break. And so if you could come back here around 9:48, that would be great. And then we are going to hit the last 2 sections of our seminar. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to move into the second part of our presentation this morning, and it is the retirement two-step. So I told you that first section was really heavy, and it was. So we're going to move into this section and the next one, and they will be less heavy, if you will. So we have a two-step retirement process. The first step is the notice of retirement. So it's important for you to adhere to the deadlines for the notice of retirement. We need you to submit this no less than a month and a day prior to your intended retirement date. If you submit it after that, then you usually have to push your retirement date off a month, and nobody wants to do that, right? Nobody. So the step one is that notice of retirement, and step two is your retirement election form, as well as the packet of information that comes with that. So we're going to cover these kind of quickly. So on the notice of retirement, we want to know what your intended retirement date is, and then your information. You can actually submit this step one in your MyMPERS electronically. You don't have to fill out the form. It's an online form, and you can do it in your MyMPERS on the forms section. So it's actually located right next to where the comparator is in that form section. But on this step one, we need to know your information. We need to know if you're married or if you're single. If you're married, please put your spouse information. But also we need to make sure that you check the box where it says, I do not have a prearrangement with any employer covered under MPERS or MOSERS to return to work after you retire. This is not to say that you can't return to work after you retire, which we're going to discuss reemployment in retirement in the third section of this presentation. But this is just telling us that you don't have a prearrangement with your employer to do so. And then please make sure that you sign and date this form. On the back of the form, there is a deadline chart where the date forms are due at MPERS. And so that gives you a good idea of, it has the first column of your intended retirement date, and then it'll tell you when you can submit step one and when the deadline is for you to submit step two. Normally when you submit step one, that notice of retirement, we will process it and then we will turn around and send you a step two packet in the mail. So just kind of keep that in mind. Additionally, we will need acceptable proof of age and lawful presence documents for you. If you're married, we will need them for your spouse as well. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Once you submit that step one, then this is the packet that will be sent you. It will include a designation of agent form. This form kind of works like a power of attorney, but it's only for MPERS related business. So it allows you to designate someone to act on your behalf if you were to become incapacitated. So this form is important. However, it's not required to retire, but we do include it in the packet because in the event something happens, we need to know who can act on your behalf. Also, there's a $5,000 beneficiary form. There is a death benefit that is provided to you at no cost if you were to retire from active employment. We just need to know who you want to pay the $5,000 to. It can be split up as many ways as you want. The most I've seen it thus far be split is between six people. But just know that if you want it to be split evenly between people, you would need to name each of those persons as a primary beneficiary, because if you name them as contingent beneficiaries, then they will only get paid if the primary beneficiaries are not alive. So we have the $5,000 death benefit. There are state and federal tax withholding forms. We recommend that you speak with a tax advisor about these forms, specifically the federal one. It's a little difficult. It takes into consideration your entire income picture, not just your pension. State tax withholding, you have the option of having tax withheld at a flat amount or not having tax withheld. Keep in mind, we do have a public pension exemption in the state of Missouri where the first, I think it's $48,000 of your public pension is not taxable by the state. Anything over that would be. So talk to your tax advisor about that public pension exemption and see what they think about that. Direct deposit is important. That's how we pay you as a retiree, and we pay you on the last working day of the month. And so we need to know where to send your check. So some people come in and they're like, don't you already have that information? And I say, no, because we haven't been paying you. Your employer has been paying you, and we don't share that information. So make sure you fill out that direct deposit application. And then if you are eligible for backdrop and you're deciding to take backdrop, this is where you'll decide how you want that distribution. Do you want it in cash? Do you want to roll it over, or do you want a combination of the two? And so we can help you fill out that form if you need some information there about that. And then we provide an estimate for you, an updated estimate in your packet. And then the retirement election form is very important for you to fill out. We can't actually start paying you until we receive this form, because this is where you will tell us which plan that you are choosing. For those year 2000 plan members, that is very easy because that's the only plan you have. But for our closed plan members, we need to know which plan you're choosing. For all of our plan members, we need to know which benefit payment option that you're choosing. This is where you'll also tell us if you are going to elect backdrop, and if you are, what backdrop period are you going to be electing? After that, there is, if you have chosen a life income annuity or guaranteed payments, there's a section that you would need to name beneficiaries for that. If you're doing joint and survivor, we don't need beneficiary information in this section. And then as the member, you need to sign this form. If you are married and you're choosing a life income annuity payment or guaranteed payments, we need your spouse to sign consent saying that they understand that they will not be receiving a benefit whenever you pass away. We're not going to ask any questions there because that was pretty easy peasy. So that's the two-step retirement process. Keep in mind, that is just the process with us. Whenever you get ready to retire, you will also want to check with your employers to make sure of what their process is. So our process is 2 steps. They may have different timelines, deadlines, and things like that that they need to know about your retirement. So please remember to check with them as well, not just us. This next example of a real life scenario is Sam and Janet. Sam came to work for the state later in life, and he has around 10 years of service. He's been told by coworkers that backdrop is just super awesome and he should take it because he would be crazy not to. Well, when we look at his estimate, if he takes no backdrop, then his benefit monthly would be $491. However, if he decides to take a full 5-year, his benefit goes down to $234. And so that's what, $257 less per month. That's over half. That's a pretty substantial deduction. And the lump sum payout is only a little over $11,000. So is it worth it? Sam, he decided that they would need the most money later in life, so he did not decide to take backdrop. And I can't blame him. You know, in his situation, it was probably best for them just to take the money, take his benefit without backdrop, because $11,000, like, while it's nice, like, I mean, it's, yeah, it could have made a difference to him, but he decided that taking basically a half pay cut wasn't worth it. Okay. All right, everyone, we're moving into my last section, so you don't have to listen to me much longer. Yay, that's exciting. So this section is called Wrap It with a Bow, and we're going to talk about a lot of different topics in here that are very important, but they just didn't really fall anywhere else. So the first thing we're going to look at, and we've been getting this question a lot, is about employment after retirement. So really, employment after retirement boils down to which plan that you retired under. So we're going to take a look at closed plan and year 2000 plan. If you, in either plan, you can go work for non-state agency and there would be no interruption in your benefit. You'd continue to receive your monthly benefit with no problem. You can also go work for a state agency in non-benefit eligible positions. It could be part-time, it could be 1,000 hour, just as long as it's not benefit eligible. Then you would still continue to receive your benefit through MPERS, your monthly benefit payment, and there would not be a disruption to your benefit. Now, this is where it is different. So if you're under the closed plan and you retired under the closed plan and you were to go work full-time at a benefit eligible position under a MPERS covered agency, your benefit, you would continue to collect your benefit monthly. It would not be suspended. On the year 2000 plan, you could still go work for a MPERS covered agency, but your benefit through MPERS will be suspended until you go back into retirement. And at that point, we'll start paying you again. So that is a big difference between the plans. Closed plan, you go work for a full-time benefit eligible position under MPERS, you still get your benefit with us. Year 2000 plan, you get your benefit with us, but we suspend it until you go back into retirement and you're no longer working in that benefit eligible position. Some of you may have spouses that work at MPERS for a MPERS covered agency. The inverse is not true. I think that they actually will suspend your benefit regardless of which plan that you are in. So, but you'll have to check with them on that. Now, regardless of what kind of employment that you go to, as far as with the state, the IRS does require that you have to have a legitimate break-in service. So even if it's non-benefit eligible, you have to have a legitimate 30-day break-in service to be considered retired. That's why on that notice of retirement, we have that box that says you have no pre-arrangement for future employment with employers covered under MPERS or MPERS, because there has to be a break. Does that mean you can't get a 1,000 hour position later? No, it doesn't mean that. What it does mean is that you can't have a pre-arrangement to do that. We were seeing people who were retired one day and go back to work the very next day, and the IRS does not smile, they do not look kindly upon that. So just keep that in mind. There has to be a 30-day break, and you can't have that pre-arrangement to return to employment under MPERS or MPERS. Let's move into what divorce looks like before and after retirement. So before retirement, no benefit is payable regardless to an ex-spouse until the member begins receiving their retirement benefit. So in order to pay an ex-spouse, we have to have a division of benefits order on file. This is different than a divorce decree. It's an actual legal document that's a division of benefits order that we have to have on file. To divorce after retirement, in order to pay an ex-spouse, we still have to have that division of benefits order on file. However, keep in mind that the spouse named on your retirement election form will remain as the spouse that will receive your benefit if you pass away, unless you get a divorce decree amended and a reversion, unless you get that done. And so if that sounds like something that may happen in the future, or I don't know, I don't want to say it may happen in the future to you because that's kind of a Debbie Downer moment there, but just know that there is an option for that to get that ex-spouse removed, but it's going to take an updated divorce decree basically for that. And we can help you through that process if it comes down to that. Now, what happens if you pass away? Everybody's going to die. What happens if you pass away before you retire? If you're vested, then your spouse will receive a benefit. If you don't have a spouse and if you're not married, which are actually the same thing, the benefit will go to children under the age of 21. But if you don't have a spouse and you don't have any children under the age of 21, then no benefit will be paid. After retirement, when you pass away, what happens to your benefit is determined by the payment option that you've chosen at retirement. And then if you are not married, then you'll have to name a final benefit pay or final payment beneficiary. We will try to deposit that final benefit payment in the account we've been paying the whole time. If for some reason it's returned, then we will need to know who to make that payment to. The month that you pass away, you are still entitled to receive the benefit from MPERS. We will not need that back. That is yours or your loved ones or whoever you've named as a beneficiary. And then there is the $5,000 death benefit that we will process as well after retirement. Sorry there. Before we get into our resources section of this Wrap It with a Bow, I want to share with you how you can securely submit documents to us. Right now, we don't have that ability in your MyMPERS account, but if you go to Secure Document Upload on our homepage, it will allow you to send us, it's basically like sending us an email, but it's encrypted. So if you have to send us any documents that have a full social security number on them, dates of birth, anything that you think is very sensitive, then you can use this secure document upload feature. It's very helpful. Otherwise, other resources that you have, we have your resources in MyMPERS. We also have resources on the website. We have all of our forms and our publications. Mary had mentioned our handbook, one of the closed plan year 2000 plan handbooks that have a lot of the reduction factor information in there for joint and survivor benefit payment options. There are some tools and calculators in there as well. Now, I want to point out our gross to net benefit calculator. This calculator is actually in your MyMPERS account. So when you log in, you'll see, I'm going to try to do a pointer. Here we go. When you log into your MyMPERS, you will see a menu on the left-hand side. And right here where it says forms, that's where you would go to submit your step 1, and that's where you can go to access the comparator. If you want to know what your, give an idea of what your take-home pay will be on your estimate, that is not your take-home pay. That is before any type of deductions. So if you go to this gross to net benefit calculator, you would be able to insert the deductions that would come out of your pension. So what is eligible to come out of your pension? Your federal taxes are, state tax. Again, I had mentioned that public pension exemption. And then other deductions are your medical insurance. If you're going to continue optional life insurance through MoDOT or the patrol, and then your dental and vision insurance through MCHCP. These are what the deductions that can be taken out of your retirement benefit. Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes, deferred comp contributions, any of those things that you see on your pay stub as an active employee, those are no longer going to be applied to your pension benefit. But on this gross to net benefit calculator, you can put in your, withholding options, total tax credit. There's other deductions down here that you'll want to, you can put in, you can add up your medical and your dental and your vision, and you can put that information there, and it'll give you an idea of what that net amount would be for your benefit. All right, moving into this last part, we have honorable mentions. These are all things that you can just, we want to leave you with just some food for thought, okay? While MPERS is your pension benefit, when you look at your overall retirement income picture in the future, is MPERS the only source of retirement income that you're going to have? If so, I would highly suggest looking into other sources of income to help supplement that. Because when you're looking at your pension benefit, while it's a decent amount, it's nowhere near what your replacement may need to be in order for you to continue living comfortably. So MPERS is a part of that retirement income. What's another part of that? Your personal savings. Now this can be, a savings account, that's what people mostly think of, but also any type of investments, any type of deferred compensation that, you've contributed to over the years. You can pull from that to help supplement your retirement income. Additionally, Social Security, Social Security is a part of that puzzle. If you've been in a retirement seminar before, you've heard of maybe like a three-legged stool. Your retirement income is held up by these three legs: your pension benefit, personal savings, and Social Security. All three of those things coming together is going to help you have a more comfortable retirement, because all three together will help with that retirement income and replacing the income that you've lost as an active employee at a better rate than it would just one of these on its own. And Kate Coos, she's going to be talking to you guys here in just a little bit about that deferred comp personal savings portion of it. Think about your insurance. What do you want to do with your insurance and retirement? Medical insurance, dental and vision. Your medical insurance, you can continue that through the patrol or MoDOT. There's a premium calculator on MoDOT employee benefits site. In the medical part, there's a premium calculator. You can figure it out what your premium would be if you and a family. If you have dependent children on there, they can stay on there usually till 26. But there's a cost for all of that. So think about your insurance and what you want to do in the future. Jill Cleathermos is going to be speaking after Kate and talking about what your health insurance and your optional life insurance information is on your options are moving forward. So that is something to also consider, is your insurance. Taxes will change the year that you retire, depending on when you retire during the year. If you retire mid-year, you'll have half of the year as an active employee with that salary, and then you'd have half of the year as a retiree with that pension benefit, coming in. So, or if you retire at the beginning of the year, it just really depends on what your income is going to be that year for your taxes. They may increase, they may decrease. If you don't have a tax advisor, I would maybe suggest looking into that for especially during the years of transition when you're going from active to retired, just so that you're not hit with anything that you weren't expecting as far as taxes go. MPERS staff, we are not tax advisors, and so we cannot give you an idea of what to withhold. We can't really help you with that. And so that's why we suggest looking for a tax professional at that time. Just know that your tax withholding with your pension benefit with us can be changed at any point in the year. You don't have to just submit one form for the year. You need to make adjustments and be like, well, man, now I'm stuck for the year with these withholdings. That's not accurate. You can change it with us at any point in time. Now, when you get ready to retire, your MyMPERS account, when it switches from an active employee MyMPERS to a retired MyMPERS, your retiree account will allow you to actually go in and make changes to your tax withholding. And you can do that at any point in time. You can also make direct deposit changes, address changes, anything like that in your MyMPERS account as a retiree. As an active employee, you don't have that option because, well, you don't need to because we're not paying you. So you don't need to change your withholdings with us. So taxes are a big concern with people, and planning is crucial as far as that taxes go. And budgeting is important as well. If you don't have a budget now, I encourage you to try to, maybe come up with one for when you're getting ready to retire based on the income from your estimate and any possible withholdings that you may have or deductions, and get an idea of how you may be able, to make it work, to make your budget work for you so that you know that you have enough money to cover those important things that you need, the necessities. And then please, we ask you please to continue asking questions of us, asking questions of deferred comp, asking questions of employee benefits. Even after you've retired, we are here for you. We want you to be comfortable with all of the information in your retirement. So please just make sure that you continue to ask questions if you have any. Please don't think that you're bothering us in any way at all, because you're definitely not. That is what we're here for. We enjoy helping our members, and I know that deferred comp and employee benefits also feel the same way. So I think right now that is all for me, but we're gonna just one more time go to Mary to see if she has any questions that came in.
Thanks, Julie. Couple comments related to questions about benefits. We do not prorate benefits when you retire. We pay for the full month, no matter how long you live during the month. So whenever you pass away, we're going to pay that full monthly benefit to either to you, depositing it directly into your account, or to whoever you've named as a beneficiary. Question about Social Security benefits. If somebody was taking early Social Security at age 62, their benefits with that are offset by earned income. Your pension benefit from us is not considered earned income. So any other details and specifics about Social Security, you would need to ask them, but just know that the benefit you receive from us, that pension benefit, is not considered earned income. Question, cost of living increases, the COLAs. There is a history document on our website where it will show you what the history has been. And then when you pass away and you're receiving a cost of living increase and your survivor starts receiving a survivor benefit, whatever cost of living increase you would have received for that year, your survivor is going to receive that. So whatever you were eligible for, your survivor is still going to be eligible for those same cost of living increases, meaning with those guaranteed 4%, if you pass away and you haven't reached that COLA cap yet, then your spouse would continue to get that guaranteed minimum 4% until they reach that COLA cap, and then still get those COLAs after that. The step one notice of retirement had a question just reminding you that the step one notice of retirement is due at least 1 month and 1 day prior to the effective date of your retirement. Don't miss that deadline. If you do miss the deadline, we may have to push your retirement date off a month. But if you meet that first deadline, we will make sure you meet that second deadline for that retirement election form packet. Let's see, 1,000 hours. Somebody asked about the 1,000 hours. If you were to return to work after you've waited that 30 days and didn't have that specific prearrangement, but working 1,000 hours is considered non-benefit eligible. Just make sure that the employer is doing it as the 1,000 hours, the retiree temporary part-time employment with the no benefits if you come back. So I think that covers all the questions that we have that would be relevant for everybody. I appreciate you including me in your morning today during the seminar, and I will turn everything back over to Julie.
Thank you, Mary. You guys had really good questions this morning, so I really appreciate that, and I know Mary does too. One thing we want to remind you is that there is an evaluation that you'll be receiving When you close out of the webinar, it will populate. Or if you don't have time today to do it, we'll send you an email tomorrow through GoToWebinar that will have a link to the evaluation as well as a link to the recorded version of this webinar. And so there are sections on there specifically for MPERS, specifically for deferred comp, and specifically for employee benefits. And at the end of the evaluation, it's more of a generic questions. If you have any type of input, there's a spot in there where you can actually type in comments. If you want us to contact you back specifically for something, there's a spot for you to do that and leave your direct contact information in there for us so we know who to call. But I think that is all that I have for you today. Please feel free, if you have any questions after the webinar is over, to give us a call or send us an email at benefits@mpers.org. If you haven't already, follow us on our social media. We do have a presence there on Facebook, X, Vimeo, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And so we have made it this far. That was a lot of information this morning, and for a Monday morning, I'm not a morning person, so it was a bit of a struggle, but I think we made it. And but I think we are ready for Kate. Kate, if you are ready. We're a little bit early, so we usually would switch over at 10:30, but I think that we can just kind of move right on if you're ready, Kate.
I am, yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, let me switch. Let me give you rights here. Let me see if I can do this. Okay, I think I did it. Let's see. Here we go.
Okay, I have a message. It says, attendees still on hold. Currently, only staff can participate in the conference call. To begin speaking to the entire audience, click start broadcast. So I assume that's what I need to do. I hope I don't mess anything up. Let's try. Okay, can you still see me?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let me pull up my presentation here, and then we will go ahead and get started. Okay. All righty. So you're seeing my screen okay?
Yes, I am.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Kate Hughes. I am a financial education professional with the state of Missouri's Deferred Compensation Plan, and I'm glad to be on this webinar with you guys today. I did just want to turn on my webcam so you could just put a name with the face. I wanted to say hello, but I am going to turn it off as I move through the presentation. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. And we will talk about our I'm Retiring presentation, everything that you're going to need to know about MO Deferred Comp when you are nearing and in retirement. So some things that you can expect from this presentation: we're going to outline your retirement income. We're going to talk about the MO Deferred Comp plan and saving during your remaining career, returning to work need-to-knows, withdrawing your savings, taxes, penalties, required minimum distributions, and last but not least, deferred comp resources in retirement. So as a state of Missouri employee in retirement, your income is going to come from 3 sources. So the first source of income that you're going to have is your defined benefit pension plan through MPERS. So that is what you guys have learned all about today. Your pension provides guaranteed income for life somewhere down the road when you are retirement eligible. I always tell folks that I meet with that we really don't have any control over the pension except work longer. The longer we work, the better our pension benefit is. Now, the second source of income that we're going to have in retirement is Social Security. Now, the amount that you are going to receive from Social Security depends on several things. It depends on how much did you earn over your career. at what age do you start collecting Social Security? So those things are going to make a difference. But on average, if Social Security is taken what's considered early at age 62, it's going to replace about 25% of your income in retirement. Now, the third source of income in retirement is going to come from your personal savings. That's things like outside retirement accounts, savings accounts that you have earmarked for retirement, and of course, last but not least, your MO Deferred Comp plan. So let's go ahead and let's talk about this. So we ask retirees every single year, we survey them and we say, are your expenses higher, about the same, or lower in retirement? Now, of those that responded, 44.4% said that their expenses in retirement stayed about the same, whereas 45.7% said that their expenses in retirement are higher, and only 9.9% said that their expenses in retirement are lower. So because of that, we know that simply relying on income from your pension and Social Security is probably not going to be enough to fund your desired lifestyle in retirement. So that's where MO Deferred Comp comes into play. So MO Deferred Comp just provides another source of income in retirement. So where your pension and Social Security is going to provide that guaranteed monthly income, deferred comp is just going to be a pot of money that's kind of hanging out there for you to use however and whenever you would like in retirement. Now, one of the biggest perks of our plan is simply how cheap it is to invest with us. And we're going to talk about that later on down the road, but just remember that low fees are a very great thing. Inside our plan, you have the option to save either on a pre-tax basis and or, because you can do both, an after-tax basis, which is known as Roth. Currently, the state of Missouri is matching contributions to deferred comp. So as long as you contribute at least $25 a month, the state will match anywhere from $25 up to $75 a month. Now, a unique feature of our plan is that you can withdraw your 457 contributions and earnings totally penalty-free after you leave state employment. Now, that is a perk because all other retirement accounts, you have to be 59 and a half before you can take a penalty-free distribution. Well, that's not the case with your 457. You just have to be separated from employment. And the reason that is good is because a lot of state of Missouri employees can retire before they're 59 and a half. So if that is you, then you would be able to access deferred comp penalty free. All right, so remember I just told you that one of the biggest perks of our plan, in my opinion, is simply how cheap it is to invest with us. All in costs, we're talking about 0.24%. Of that 0.24% cost, there are admin costs and investment management costs that make up that 0.24%. So our admin costs are $1 a month or $12 a year, plus 0.09% of assets that you have. I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but just know that that is included in the investment option expense ratio. So all in cost, 0.24%. Now you can see with this chart on the right how we compare to other retirement plans. So most other retirement plans, it costs about 0.85% to invest with them. Now, you might not think that fees sound like a big deal, but they can really add up and eat into your balance over time. So take a look at this example. Let's say that you had a $10,000 beginning balance, and over the course of 25 years, let's say you save $150 a month. We're also going to assume a 6% rate of return. Now, keeping all those variables the same, if you were to invest that amount in a plan like MO Deferred Comp with our low fees of 0.24%, when you go to retire, you could have about $200,000. Now, Let's say though that you invested that same exact amount over the same time frame with the exact same rate of return, just in a plan with a higher fee like 0.85%. If you had a higher fee, you could only have about $175,000 when you go to retire. So that is a difference of over $25,000 alone in this fee example that fees can make on your balance. And you can see obviously higher cost fees like 1.25%, even less balance over time. So just be thinking of fees, something to be very aware of because they can eat into your balance over time. Now, I told you guys that the state will match up to $75 a month into deferred comp. You can certainly contribute more than that if you would like. In fact, we have ginormous contribution limits. If you are under the age of 50, we can contribute $23,500 a year to deferred comp. Now, if you're age 50 and older, the IRS gives you a catch-up limit, and so you can contribute up to $31,000 a year. Now, something that is new for 2025 is if you are age 60 to 63, you have an additional catch-up limit. The total amount you contribute, $34,750. And last but not least, if you're within 3 years of normal retirement eligibility, you have 1 3-year period where you could contribute up to $47,000 a year to our plan. I know that sounds kind of kooky, but you know what? We do have people that take advantage of that. So if you ever find yourself in that fortunate situation, just know that there is special paperwork that you would need to file in order to make that extra contribution limit. Now, there are 2 things that I want to mention about contributions before I move on. And the first thing is if you have an outside traditional IRA or Roth IRA, you may fully fund that as well as fully fund your deferred comp account. And of these contribution limits, 100% of the amount could be contributed to the Roth savings option. So that is a perk of the Roth savings option inside our plan, because if you save with a Roth IRA outside of deferred comp, you are limited in how much you can contribute. I think it's like $7,500 this year. So again, you can see contribution limits are ginormous. And if you wanted to contribute 100% of the amount to the Roth option, that is available as well inside our plan. Now, this just talks more about the match. It's for all active part-time and full-time state agency employees. Unfortunately, I know this is not you guys, but I have to say it as a disclaimer, college and university employees are not eligible to receive the state match. Now, the state match is funded by the state of Missouri, so it's subject to the approval of the state's annual budget. What that means for you and I is we have absolutely no idea how long this match is going to stick around. So I always encourage individuals to take advantage of it while it is being offered. That's $900 that the state will kick in on your behalf each year. So that's definitely nothing to sneeze at. Now take a look. Let's just say that you contribute $20 a month, so $10 a pay period. Well, guess what? The state is not going to match that, and your monthly contribution is only going to be $20. However, let's say you contribute $25 a month or even $25.67. State is going to match that dollar for dollar all the way through 75. Now, on the previous slide, I told you how ginormous our contribution limits were. So you guys know that you can definitely contribute more than $75 a month, but the state will only match up to 75. Now, understanding your account. This is something that I think is very important because I get this question every single week. So underneath what I call the umbrella of deferred comp, you'll have what you see as 2 buckets of funds, if you will. You have a 457 and a 401. That 457 bucket, that is your payroll contributions, whether they're pre-tax, Roth, both, doesn't matter, all reflected in the 457. Now the 401, that is that state match money. It's all your money. It's just the money that the state has contributed on your behalf. So 457, your payroll contributions. 401, state match money. Now, if you ever rolled money into our plan, so like if you had an outside retirement account and you rolled that into deferred comp, depending upon when you did that, would depend upon what bucket that would have been deposited in. So if you rolled money into our plan prior to January 1st, 2020, it would have been deposited into the 401 bucket. Now, if you rolled money into our plan on or after January 1st, 2020, it would have been deposited into the 457 bucket. But essentially 457, your payroll contributions, 401, state match money. Now, annual leave contributions. When you go to retire, you can contribute any unused annual leave pay at retirement into deferred comp. Now, annual leave contributions are coded as contributions. What that means for you is that we have to make sure that between your annual leave amount and your regular contributions, that you stay within the contribution limits for the year, okay? Now, if you contribute any unused annual leave, when you go to do that, that is going to follow your current investment instructions that you have on file. Meaning whatever your payroll contributions are being invested in, that is how your annual leave contributions would be invested as well, unless you were to direct a change. Again, kind of what I mean by that is some folks, when they retire, they like to contribute their unused annual leave or maybe their backdrop, and they like to put that into our stable fund. Our stable fund is what provides that set rate of return, so it's not subject to market fluctuation. So again, going to follow your current investment instructions on file unless you were to direct a change. Now, if you're interested in contributing any unused annual leave contributions, there is a form that you would need to fill out, and you can get that from your HR professional, or you can find that on our website as well. So rollovers, what is a rollover? A rollover just allows you to combine retirement accounts tax and penalty free. So if you guys have an old retirement account hanging out there, you can roll that into deferred comp. In fact, we can accept pretty much any type of retirement account except a Roth IRA. Now, let's say you have maybe a 401k or a 403b with Roth assets inside that. That is fine. We could accept that. But a Roth IRA, you cannot roll into deferred comp at this time. Now, rollovers go both ways. So let's say you're working for the state, you're contributing to deferred comp, and then you retire from the state of Missouri. Well, you can leave your deferred comp account with us, or if you wanted to roll it out to an outside retirement account, you may do so. There is a form that you would need in order to make that transaction. And as you can imagine, we don't put that on our website. So if you need the rollover out form, you're going to need to reach out to either myself or one of my teammates, and we can provide that form for you. I get a lot of questions on the rollover process. So if you guys are interested in moving money into deferred comp from an old retirement account, I encourage you just to go ahead and call your previous provider, tell them you want to roll your account over to your employer account, that's us, a deferred comp, and ask them what paperwork is needed. Then they're going to get you that rollover paperwork, you fill it out, you submit it, and that is the process for rolling money into deferred comp. Again, if you have any questions at any time about any of this, do not hesitate to reach out to myself or one of my teammates. All right, so we talked about unused annual leave. Now let's switch gears and talk about backdrop. Are you guys receiving a backdrop? If you are, you may roll it into deferred comp. Now, rolling it is the key word, okay? Because it's going to be a rollover, we do not have to stay within those contribution limits, all right? So there is no limit on the amount that can be rolled over. And again, just like those unused annual leave contributions, if you roll backdrop into deferred comp, it is going to follow those current investment instructions on file unless you direct a change. Now, if you are receiving a backdrop and you are rolling that into deferred comp, that will be deposited the last business day of the month that you retire. And we make it easy on you. If you are not a current deferred comp participant, you can still roll your backdrop into the plan, okay? All right, so purchasing prior service. I know enough about this to be dangerous, all right? Basically, what happens is if you have prior service with maybe the city or the county or maybe military, you may be able to take those years of service and purchase years of service under your MPERS plan, all right? The reason I'm talking about this is because if you decide to purchase prior service, what you can do is you can use your pre-tax assets inside your deferred comp account to pay for that service purchase, okay? So essentially, I always tell people, if you are interested in that, contact MPERS, find out if you are eligible to do that. And if you are, then what they're going to do is they're going to give you a cost estimate of what that will cost to purchase that service. And then once they get you that, if you decide to go ahead and go through with purchasing that service, again, you can use pre-tax assets inside your deferred comp account to pay for that service, okay? All righty, now kind of switching gears and talking about returning to state employment. So if you guys separate service and then you return to state service on any basis, whether it is a part-time, full-time, as needed, 1,000-hour employee, does not matter, you are going to be considered an active employee. And active employees are prohibited from making withdrawals from your 457 and 401 accounts, all right? So you retire from the state, you come back and work for the state, you are not going to be able to take distributions from your deferred comp account unless you have a rollover source. So if you rolled money into our plan from either an outside retirement account or maybe backdrop, that's considered a rollover as well, remember? So now you could take distributions from the rollover source if you came back and worked for the state, but you can't take any withdrawals from your contribution sources, okay? I hope that makes sense to y'all. So withdrawing your savings. All right, so let's say that you retire or separate service from the state. There is nothing that you need to do with us at Deferred Comp. When you fill out your MPERS paperwork, that's going to take care of our system. Now, it does take about 2 to 3 weeks after your last working day for you to become separated from service in our system. Once you are coded as separated from service, you may begin to take withdrawals from your account if you would like. Of course, if you don't want to, that's fine. You don't have to. Everything's going to stay the same. You're just not making contributions anymore to the plan. It's going to stay invested, continue to grow. And then when you're ready to take distributions, you can do that. Okay. Those distributions can look like lump sum payments. So maybe you want to go on a vacation, pay for a car repair, home repair, whatever, you can take distributions like that. Or maybe you want to set up your account to receive maybe monthly deposits, quarterly, semi-annually, annual deposits, doesn't matter. Again, this is all your money. So let's say that you do want to set up monthly distributions. So each month we can electronically deposit money into your bank account. And then let's say in addition to that, you want to go on a vacation. You can certainly request additional amounts of money if you want. So again, this is all your money. Once you separate service, you use it whenever and however you would like. Now, when it comes time for you to receive your money, you have 2 options on how you can get that. We can either electronically deposit that money into your bank account, which I recommend, or they can mail you a check to your address of record. Mailing a check does take longer, and it makes me a little nervous, to be honest. All right, so let's say that you are ready to take a withdrawal. Well, how do you go about doing that? Well, you have two ways that you can process that. So you can either log into your account through our website, modeferredcomp.org, and process that withdrawal yourself. Or what most people prefer to do is call our participant service line, and they can process that for you. Now, the first time that you call into them, I always encourage you to have your bank account information handy. That way, when you first call in, they can add your bank account to your profile. And then whenever you call in the future and request distributions, guess what? You've already got your account information on file, and it makes it really easy to send you distributions. All right, so withdrawal need to knows. Now we are going to talk about taxes, okay? Now, depending on how you save in your account depends on your tax implications, okay? Now, withdrawal need to know, something that I do want to say is pretty important is I like to tell everybody that you should just assume that you need to be separated from employment before you can take a withdrawal from deferred comp. Now, we do have a couple of exceptions while you're still employed if you need to take a distribution, but they are for unforeseen reasons, okay? So I just like to tell everybody it's safe to assume that if you're going to take a withdrawal on your deferred comp account, that you need to be separated from employment, okay? So let's say that you're separated from employment and you're ready to start taking distributions. And let's say that you have pre-tax assets inside your account. When you go to take a distribution from that, the IRS requires an immediate 20% federal tax withholding. So you call in, you request a distribution, we're going to send you that amount less 20% federal tax. If you want to withhold state taxes, you may do so, but it is above and beyond that 20% federal tax withholding. Now, there are some exceptions to that 20% federal tax withholding, and that is direct rollovers. So, of course, if you're taking your deferred comp account, you're rolling it out to another retirement account, that's done tax and penalty free. Those unforeseen emergencies, remember that I mentioned that you can take while you're still employed. You're not required to withhold 20% from that. And then required minimum distributions. We're going to talk about those in a minute, but if you take a required minimum distribution, you get to decide how much tax to withhold. And then last but not least, if you set up your account for regular payments that exceed a 10-year period, you can get around that 20% federal tax withholding. But I just like to tell everybody it is very safe to assume that if you've got pre-tax assets in your account and you're going to take a distribution for whatever reason, we're going to withhold 20% federal tax withholding, okay? Now, Roth, let's say that you have Roth assets inside your account. Those are going to be totally tax-free for you as long as you are separated from employment. 5 years have passed since January 1st of the year of your first Roth contribution. Meaning, if you decided to start contributing to the Roth option anytime in 2025, your 5-year mark is up January 1, 2030, okay? And the last one is you're at least 59 and a half. So separated from employment, 5 years have passed since your original Roth contribution, and you're at least 59 and a half, and you go to take a distribution from those Roth assets, they're going to be totally tax-free for you in retirement, which is a huge perk of a Roth savings. Okay, so we just talked about taxes, okay? Now let's switch gears and talk about penalties. There is never, ever, ever any penalty on distributions from your 457 contributions, rollovers from other 457 plans, annual leave contributions, and earnings on all the above. Never, ever any penalty as long as you are separated from service, regardless of your age. Now, a 10% penalty may apply to that state match money, rollovers from other non-457 plans. So maybe a 401k, 403b, traditional IRA, that includes backdrop rollovers and earnings on all the above. There will be a 10% penalty if you withdraw those sources prior to age 59 and a half, unless you separate service in the year that you turn 55 or later, or you are a public safety officer age 50, or with at least 25 years of service. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this. Penalty free is your contributions, whether they're pre-tax or Roth, annual leave contributions, rollovers from other 457 plans, and earnings on all of those. Totally penalty free, no matter your age, as long as you're separated from service. A 10% penalty may apply to withdrawals prior to age 59 and a half from that state match money and any non-457 rollovers, including backdrops, unless you separate service in the year you turn 55 or later, public safety officer age 50, or with 25 years of service. All right, so I hope that makes sense for you guys. If it does not, please feel free to shoot me questions and I will answer them at the end. All right, so I had just kind of briefly touched base on required minimum distributions. Essentially what happens is, let's say that you are no longer employed with the state and you have pre-tax assets inside your deferred comp account, okay? Once you turn 73 and you're no longer an active state of Missouri employee, the IRS requires what's called required minimum distributions, okay? Required minimum distributions cannot be rolled over. You actually have to take a distribution because that's the whole point. The IRS wants to collect their taxes. Now, the penalty for not taking a required minimum distribution is 25% of the amount that you did not take. However, never fear, if you leave your account with us at Deferred Comp, we are not going to let you default on those required minimum distributions. Essentially, what we do is the year that you are required to start taking them, we're going to send you a letter about March, and we're going to say, hey, Joe, guess what? It's time for you to take your required minimum distribution. And then we're going to give you the amount that you need to take, all right? Then we're going to wait to hear from you. And we're going to wait and see if you take distributions through the year. And that can be just one lump sum distribution, a couple random distributions, monthly distributions, doesn't matter. You just have to get that whole entire amount out by the end of the year. Well, again, let's say we send you that letter in March and we say, Joe, the amount that you need to take is X amount of dollars. And then let's say you don't act on that, okay? Well, come December 1st, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mail you a check to your address of record. That means two things for you. The first thing is hey, guess what? We're not going to let you default on that required minimum distribution. But the second thing that means, and most importantly, is it is very important that you have your personal information updated with us at Deferred Comp. Because again, if we're going to send you that check, we want to make sure that we have your correct address on file. Now, the way that we calculate your required minimum distribution is by a standard formula, okay? So let's say that you are age 73 this year in 2025. And then let's say last year, your pre-tax account balance was $50,000. Well, you would take your account balance, 50,000, divided by 26.5, because that is the factor that's dependent upon your age. So for this example, this individual had a $50,000 pre-tax account balance and was turning 73 this year, and their required minimum distribution would be $1,887. Again, that's the amount that they have to take out throughout the year. It can be one lump sum payment, a couple of random distributions, doesn't matter. You just have to get out $1,887 by December 31st. If you are interested in seeing what your required minimum distribution might look like, we do have a calculator for that on our website. All right, so let's say that you guys took a withdrawal from your deferred comp account. Well, whenever you go to take a withdrawal, come tax time, we are going to mail you a 1099-R. That 1099-R is going to report how much you withdrew from your account, how much of that was taxable, and how much tax we withheld. So we will keep track of everything for you and then mail you that 1099-R, and those will be mailed out by the last business day of January. Now, something that is important to note about this is that your 1099-R is not going to come from MO Deferred Comp, but it's going to come from a place called Vantage Point Transfer Agents. Okay, but the whole point of this is just to know if you take a distribution, we will keep track of everything, and then we'll send you a 1099-R come tax time. Now, keep an eye out for fraud. This is something that my supervisor really likes me to hit on, okay? So less than 30% of state of Missouri employees have actually gone to our website and created their own login credentials. We highly encourage you to do that, because if you don't quote unquote claim your online account, it is easy for somebody to do that on your behalf. All right. So take 5 minutes, head to our website, modeferredcomp.org, and set up your online credentials. Then once you set that up and you're in your account, go ahead and review that personal information. Make sure we've got a good email address on file, physical address, a mobile phone number. Review your beneficiaries. I cannot tell you how many people, when I sit down and I meet with them, do not have beneficiaries listed on their account. It blows my mind. I will say 8 out of 10 people do not have a beneficiary listed. So be sure to check that out and make sure you've got one listed as well. And then last but not least, as always, be wary of any emails that you're opening, links that you're clicking, websites that you're using, and do not share your personal information on social media. All right, so this is a new slide for this year. We are transitioning record keepers in 2025. What is a record keeper? Well, a record keeper is just an organization that is responsible for maintaining our records, including our assets, contributions, and distributions. So right now we use Mission Square, but later in 2025, we are transitioning to Voya. I'm sure you have probably all heard of Voya. I am super excited about this transition. What are the reasons for this? Well, more tools, upgraded technology, improved online account access, better customer service, enhanced security, super excited. So this is going to happen in late 2025. And what do you guys need to do? Absolutely nothing, okay? Just wanted to kind of push this out, start talking about it, just making sure that everybody's aware, but stay tuned. Later on this year, you will have more information about this, you can bet. All righty, so additional resources in retirement. So these two pictures on the left are pictures of our website. The first one is a calculator on our website. The second one is our awesome video library. On our calculator or our website, you can find tons of calculators. You can find that required minimum distribution calculator that I talked about. You can find a calculator where if you're interested in seeing what your deferred comp account contributions might look like at the end of your career, we have a calculator for that. Just tons of great resources. Also, we have tons of educational videos and tutorials. We have an award-winning marketing team. There are short, quirky little videos on our website that I promise you, if you take a couple minutes and watch some, you will learn more about our plan. Also on our webinar, our website, at the top, if you see this gold event registration tab, if you click on that, that pulls up all of the upcoming seminars, webinars, and one-on-one meetings that myself and my teammates have on the books. So feel free to register for something else where you can learn more about our plan. Also, you can sign up for those one-on-one meetings with myself and my teammates. Any publication, how-to guide, how to change your contribution, how to change your investment, anything like that, you can find that on our website, as well as information on financial planning services. So website is a plethora of information that I highly encourage you to check out. And I will tell you, next week, we are rolling out a new website, and we're super excited about that. Our marketing team's been working very, very hard. Okay, so take note of this number. This is an important number to have. This is our plan participant service line, 1-800-392-0925. Again, if you guys need to make a change on your account, you need to make a withdrawal request in retirement, you give them a call, they will make that happen for you. We are located here in Jefferson City, Missouri, and you can access your deferred comp account either directly on our website or through the ESS portal. And in retirement, you will have access to your ESS portal for 5 years, all right? After 5 years, your ESS portal access is shut off. So again, just another reason why I encourage you to create your own login credentials on our website. Now, if you're interested in reviewing your account on the go, we do have a mobile app that is available. And last but not least, if you're interested in text alerts that are specific to your account, you would text MODC to 833-437-1777. And with that, I believe, oh, not my last slide, my second to last slide of the day. This is myself and my teammates. We all cover different territories of the state, as well as agencies in Cole County. So I encourage you to reach out to your specific FEP, that we call them, financial education professionals, if you have a question. But of course, you reach out to whoever you feel comfortable with. We just want you to get the questions or any answers to any questions that you may have. Also, if you're interested in kind of seeing how you're tracking for retirement as far as income goes, let us know. When I sit down with people and I meet with them, I talk about income replacement. Ultimate goal is replacing 100% of the income that we were making while we were working in retirement. When we sit down and we talk about your pension, how much longer are you planning on working for the state? How many years of service does that give you total? And we'll find out an income replacement that your pension will provide. Then we'll talk about Social Security. We'll talk about when you plan on taking that at one age, and then we'll get an income replacement from that. And then to find the third piece of what I call this income puzzle in retirement, we use our Grow Your Retirement Savings Calculator that you find online to see what your deferred comp account will provide for income replacement. Then we add those three sources together to see how you are tracking for income replacement in retirement. Now, this is my last slide of the day. If you have questions, I hope that you are sending those to me and I will answer those at the end. But 6 key things to do immediately: use our calculator on our website to track how much income you're going to need in retirement. This is the most important and probably the most overlooked. If you guys are going to retire, please, please, please create a budget before making that decision. Consider increasing or maxing out your contributions in the last few years of your career, and definitely be sure you're saving enough to receive the full state match. Remember, the state will match up to $75 a month, so that is $37.50 a pay period. You contribute $37.50 a pay period, that's $75 a month that you're doing. Then the state will give you 75. That is $150 a month contribution. It's so important that before you make a withdrawal, do your homework to avoid receiving penalties and to understand your tax implications. And remember to update your contact and beneficiary information. And last but not least, schedule a meeting with one of us if we can help you. Myself, my teammates, we are all resources for you. Even in retirement, you have access to us. So please keep that in mind because we are happy to help. And with that, that is all that I have for today. Let me see if I have any questions.
There are 3
Okay.
questions that are towards the end.
Okay,
of
towards the
question.
end. I was like, oh, there's a lot of questions in here.
Yeah, there's a lot. Scroll to the end and then work that way on your way
Okay,
up.
all right, that's what I'll do. Okay, I earned 40 hours of comp time before I became a supervisor. Will I be able to roll that comp time into my deferred comp account? Unfortunately, no. I am so sorry. Contributions have to come from payroll contributions, unfortunately, or unused annual leave contributions when you retire. So sorry about that, Regina. All right, can you, let me see, where is I? Okay, can we meet with our rep to run ideas? Oh yeah, absolutely. You can meet with your rep at any time. And we encourage you to do that. It keeps us busy. It keeps us employed. So please reach out to us. We're happy to help. Distributions taken by, let me see here. I don't think I got the top. Oh gosh. Okay. Can you get ahead of minimum distributions by taking a lesser in years before turning 73? Well, kinda. So, because required minimum distributions will go off your December 31st balance of the previous year. Yeah, if you're pulling out prior to age 73, you're reducing your balance. And so therefore, when it comes time to take required minimum distributions, you're not gonna have to take quite as much because you're drawing down the account balance. Yeah, so the RMD percentage is based on the balances of that year. What is the monetary value of unused annual leave? Oh, good one. All right, I think you answered that, Julie. It looks like. Yeah, that's HR, and they do also take out taxes and stuff as well. Okay, let's see. Let me see if I have any others at the end. Okay. Okay, if I decide on a lump sum, what is the time frame to receive the payment? So when I turn 74, okay, so that's a different one. Okay, so if I decide on a lump sum, what is the time frame? So you mean like if you decide to take a distribution or a rollover? If you decide to take a lump sum distribution, you can do that at any time once you're separated from service. If you don't want it right away, that's fine. You can let it sit, let it ride. It's going to stay invested and continue to grow, hopefully. And then you just take a distribution whenever you're ready. You're not required to do anything until you are 73 and no longer employed. But until then, you don't have to take out anything if you don't want to. However, if you're talking about a rollover, if you want to roll your account out into a new retirement account, again, you can do that at any time. You can be retired for 5 years and then decide you want to roll it out. It can be done at any time. Let me see this. Okay, so when I turn 74, will the RMD basis be reduced by the amount of age 73? I mean, yeah, generally speaking. So that's the thing, right? If we're taking distributions, we're drawing down the balance of our account, and the smaller balance on our account, the less we have to take for a required minimum distribution. But every year it is refigured. And if we have a really good year in the market, right, and we've had account growth, then it's possible that from year to year, your RMD might be a little bit more. It just kind of depends on what the market does because we're going off your account balance. It's okay. So, oh, the turnaround time. Okay, so when you request a lump sum. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't tracking. All right, so if you request a distribution from deferred comp, and then let's say they mail you a check, I always tell people expect 10 to 14 business days is really what I say. Now, if you have them electronically deposit that into your bank account, that happens in like 2 days. So another reason why I encourage direct deposit. It happens much quicker. You're welcome. Okay, I think that is all the questions that I have. Once I get off here, I will just go through them again and just make sure that I did answer all of them. So if I missed any, stay tuned. But thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kate. I appreciate you participating this morning. And there was one question that came in right
Okay.
after, and that was if they're able to continue to deposit into deferred comp after they retire.
Oh, well, good question. So you are only able to deposit if it's from another retirement account and we're doing a rollover. Unfortunately, all contributions have to come from either payroll or rollover sources. Great question.
Excellent. Thank you. All right,
Yes.
everyone, we're gonna continue rolling along here with the seminar, and the next presenter is, I think it's Jill. Yes, Jill, right?
Yes, you're right. Good morning.
Okay, very good. So Jill Cleathermos is here from Employee Benefits, and so she will be presenting. And then Lisa Burr will be moderating for her. So she'll be answering your questions as you ask them. So give me just a second, Jill, and I will make you the presenter.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, do you see my screen?
Well, I see your notes screen. I saw the correct screen at first.
So is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Okay. Fantastic. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Julie, for that. Yes, I am Jill Cleathermos, and a benefit specialist here at Health and Wellness Division with MoDOT. And yes, my teammate Lisa Burr will be addressing the questions as I present. So feel free to text or chat with her on some questions. If there's anything that needs to be shared with the group, she'll be happy to share that at the end of the presentation. So today, we're going to touch base on what our medical and prescription insurance is going to look like going into retirement, what the dental and vision insurance with Missouri Consolidated Healthcare, what that looks like, our annual leave lump sum payout, cafeteria plan benefits, what we can utilize there, deferred comp, as well as different life insurance policies that we have for our MoDOT and Highway Patrol members as we go into retirement. So I'll be addressing all these areas in detail in hopes that you can receive clear understanding of how you can transition into retirement while maintaining the benefits you wish to have. For members retiring under age 65 or members that have a dependent under age 65 and are enrolled on the MoDOT and Patrol medical plan, this plan will remain the same. So the good news, your medical and prescription benefits will remain moving into retirement. So this means members will have the same level of coverage as an active employee regarding the annual deductible, out-of-pocket maximums, as well as copays. Members also will have the same coverage services, also have access to the same network of doctors. Now, our members going into retirement will receive new medical cards. The medical premium will be deducted from the retirement pension check. If the medical premium is greater than the pension amount, the member will receive a letter or in a form, and a member will need to complete that to set up manual payments either by auto bank draft or a paper check to cover this monthly medical premium as a retiree. For any of our members age 65 or older, or have dependents age 65 or older and are enrolled on the medical plan at the time of retirement. This member and dependent will need to be proactive to apply for Medicare Part A as in apple and Medicare Part B as in boy. And I suggest at least 4 months prior to your retirement, for you need to have Part A and B effective beginning the same date as your retirement. This is important to plan and have this completed on your part. Now, medical and prescription coverage at this point, once you turn in your Medicare card, you will roll over into our United Healthcare Medicare Advantage MoDOT Missouri State Highway Patrol medical and prescription plan. You will receive a new card, and on this card will have your Medicare information as well as your medical and pharmacy that we have with United Healthcare. Medicare member will have to meet a new deductible, and that will be $250. And the medical premiums will be deducted from the retire pension check. So for more information on our Medicare Advantage plan, members can visit our website listed here at www.retiree.uhc.com/MODOT-MSHP. Medical premium rates will increase for our non-Medicare retirees. Now, how much of an increase depends on your total number of years of service at the time you decide to retire. So as of January 1st, 2015, we started basing retiree rates off of your total years of service. How do we calculate this? We will take as a non-Medicare premium, we look at your total whole years of completed service to the department, multiply 2%, multiply total premium of the medical insurance to get to your discount amount. Then we'll take that discount amount, subtract it from the total premium, and this is your retiree medical monthly premium. Now keep in mind, 50% is the maximum that the department will pay toward your retiree medical premium. Now listed here are a few examples for our members who would be under the PPO medical plan, whether you've served 15 years, 20 years, or 25 years. This is what a subscriber's monthly cost would be for 2025 if you are a subscriber only or a subscriber and spouse plan. And that is both non-Medicare listing here. If you wish to explore how this calculates for you prior to retirement election, we highly encourage you to check out our premium calculator on our employee benefits webpage. This is a great tool to aid in figuring out what your monthly retiree premium will look like for you and according to the specifics that will be applied for you. If you prefer, you can also call your local insurance rep or a benefit specialist, and we are all willing and happy to help you. Now, while we're figuring years of service, I want to point out your backdrop plays no impact on your total years of service premium calculation. Plus, there is no rounding up to determine total years of service. So if you are looking at having 22 years and 10 months for your retirement, we will close you out at 22 years. So keep that in mind. For 2025, retirees who gave 20 or more completed years of service to the department, MoDOT and Missouri State Highway Patrol Medicare premium will be no cost to the member and the Medicare dependent listed. For members who retire with less than 20 years of service, medical premium will calculate using the current strategy of 2% subsidy per years of service. So checking out our online calculator will also help aid you on seeing what this premium will look like for you. Now let's keep in mind when we are heading into the Medicare enrollments, Medicare Part A has no cost to you, but members will have to pay a premium for the Medicare Part B, and that's B as in boy, and you'll have that premium through Social Security to pay. to be eligible for medical and prescription coverage as a retiree. You must be enrolled on the medical insurance policy while you are an active employee prior to your retirement date to carry this coverage into retirement. Once you retire, you must stay enrolled on the medical plan to continue this coverage. If you choose to cancel this policy, whether it be at the time of your retirement or during retirement, you will not be able to come back to the medical plan. This is a permanent decision. There is one exception, though, that I would like to touch base. Our members who are active military coverage when retiring from MoDOT or patrol, once your military service ends, then and only then can you reinstate your medical insurance as a retiree. You will need to notify us prior to your military discharge to get re-enrolled, and you have a 60 days time sensitive from your military separation to complete this process. You will need to contact your local insurance rep to be in communication to complete that. Now, any of our retirees who will experience a loss of coverage, if you are actively enrolled on your spouse's medical plan and spouse encounters a loss of coverage due to termination of employment or a total loss of the employer contribution toward the medical premium, the retiree has 60 days from the event to enroll on the MoDOT and patrol medical plan. If you experience this, you will need to be in contact with your insurance rep to make this election within this time sensitive of 60 days. If you are not currently enrolled on the medical coverage as an active employee and you wish to have this coverage going into retirement, you will need to plan ahead. You need to look at when our next medical open enrollment period will be, make this election, and be enrolled. And remember, our big medical open enrollment where members can add themselves or add a dependent. This happens every 2 years and the odd number of years during the month of October. Therefore, our next open enrollment is going to be October of 2025 for members to add themselves or a dependent, and then again in 2027 during the month of October. Keep in mind, you cannot enroll for the medical coverage at the time of your retirement. You must have this ready to go January of the year you wish to retire. The only changes that you can make to your medical coverage at the time of retirement is you can drop a dependent or you can cancel your medical coverage. Now, as far as coverage for your dependents, they too must be enrolled on the medical plan prior to your retirement, or they can have a qualifying event to be added to your retiree medical plan. So yes, qualifying events still apply during retirement, allowing a member to add a dependent. So if you encounter marriage, birth, or adoption, you need to be in contact with your insurance rep as soon as possible, for there is only a 31-day window to elect this coverage from the day of the event to add the dependent. If your dependent is not currently enrolled on your medical plan while you are actively employed and you wish to have that dependent on your plan going into retirement, you need to make this election at the next medical open enrollment prior to your retirement, especially if your dependents will be facing no qualifying events for you to be able to add them. Now, members enrolled on the high deductible health plan can continue this plan into retirement as long as you and or your dependent is not Medicare enrolled or will be Medicare enrolled. Members must be under the PPO medical plan January of the year in which either you or your dependent will become Medicare eligible. While remaining on the high deductible health plan as a retiree, you can continue contributions toward your health savings account from your pension check, but remember the employer contribution to the HSA will stop. As a retiree, you can continue to switch from your PPO plan to high deductible plan. This can be done during the month of October of every year, and it will become effective January of the following calendar year. Once you terminate medical plan, the selection is permanent. There's no open enrollment for a retiree to reinstate on the medical. If you have dependents listed under your medical plan prior to passing, your dependents can continue the medical coverage as a survivor. To do so, your dependents will need to contact your insurance rep to report your death, then complete a surviving enrollment form, submit this completed enrollment form back to the insurance rep within 31 days of your passing. They will need to continue the monthly premium. And remember, your dependents will continue this medical coverage as long as they meet the eligibility guidelines, meaning that the children can stay covered until age 26. Missouri Consolidated Healthcare Plan is the administrator for our dental and vision insurance. So as a retiree, to have dental and or the vision insurance heading into retirement, you and any dependents must be enrolled prior to your retirement date, and you must be receiving a retirement benefit from MPERS. If you or any of your dependents are not currently enrolled on the dental and or the vision plan, and you wish to have this benefit going into retirement, you will need to make this election by logging directly into Missouri Consolidated website during their annual open enrollment, and that is October 1st to October 31st. Then this election will be effective January 1st of the year in which you plan to retire. Now, members who have a certificate of 12 months of continuous dental and or vision insurance coverage, these members may elect state dental and vision at the time of retirement. To make this election, you will need to talk to your insurance rep who will help you. Once you retire, there is no open enrollment to make the election for this coverage. Now, for your dependents to have dental and vision coverage after you pass, your dependents can continue their coverage as a survivor, but must be actively on the plan prior to your death. They will need to meet eligibility guidelines. They will, again, children are covered until age 26, and the dependent must submit a surviving enrollment form within 31 days of your passing directly to MCHCP and then pay that monthly premium. As a retiree, dental benefits remain the same and the benefit categories and the premium stays the same. The vision benefits remain the same as well. They still offer the basic and the premium plans for our retirees, but our members will experience a slight rate increase from active employment to the retiree rate. So right here on this category, you can look at what category applies to you and see what that monthly premium will list for you. At retirement, cafeteria offers tax savings options for our members. Members can prepay their medical, dental, and or vision insurance premium pre-tax through the end of the calendar year in which you retire. Members can also pre-fund their flexible spending account through the remainder of the year in which you retire, giving you access to continue claiming for qualifying expenses once you retire. By doing this, you will have tax savings between 25 to 35%, and that all depends on your tax bracket. Now, to do this participation, this can be done in two ways. You can either prepay from your last few active paychecks, or you can pre-fund from your unused annual leave lump sum payout. Now, keep in mind, to elect a January 1st retirement, you cannot make the election to participate in the cafeteria plan, nor can you add a dependent to your insurance during the month of October to have it effective in January. So if you plan to do that, your first retirement would be February 1st. If you make cafeteria plan election for the flexible spending account or the limited scope account, you do not pre-fund this account will close the last day of retirement month. In this case, member must have qualifying expenses as well as submit claims to ASI for the amount that has been funded prior to the last day of retirement month. Otherwise, the member will lose the balance that is still on hand. When a member pre-funds the flexible spending account for the rest of the calendar year in which the member retires, the flexible spending account Visa card will turn off and deactivate the day of retirement. Therefore, members who pre-fund this account will need to pay from their personal account, then submit claim directly to ASI through their website or the mobile app, and then ASI will directly refund member either by auto bank draft or by paper check. Now, how much you pre-fund premiums or pre-fund your flexible spending account, this all depends on how much unused annual leave hours plus your gross wage, and that's what determines your lump sum payout. So keep in mind there's a max number of unused annual leave hours plus the max number of comp time hours that a member can be paid out for. Annual leave accrual limit is based on completed years of service. So our members who have less than 10 years of completed service and plan to retire, your annual leave accrual limit is going to be 240 hours. For our members who retire with between 10 and 15 years of completed service, your limit is 288 hours. And any of our members who retire with 15 and plus years of service, completed service, 336 hours is the max for the lump sum payout. Now, as for unused comp time, whether that is state comp or federal comp, the max hours is 240 hours, and this is a combining of federal and state together. We are able to pay you out not more than 240 hours. This lump sum payout will be a direct deposit into your account the last day of the month in which you retire. Any hours above the maximum limit can be donated to shared leave program. Another tax savings I want to share, members have the choice to deposit part of their annual leave lump sum paycheck using the pre-tax benefit to place money into your deferred compensation account. Now keep in mind, regardless of how much you pre-fund for your premiums or how much you transfer to deferred comp, you will be paying taxes on this annual leave payout. And in addition, we are not able to pre-fund your lump sum. Let's see. We are not able to pre-fund your total lump sum amount. You will have to have a payout, at least a small portion of that payout. So we can't take it down, that payout down to a zero amount. If you have any questions regarding the cafeteria plan and how you can take advantage of tax savings, I recommend contacting your insurance rep, or you can call our benefit office at 877-863-9406, and you can speak with one of us benefit specialists. We are always happy to help you walk through your options, for we understand that retirement is unique to each member, so we don't hesitate to inquire. So please don't hesitate to inquire, ask your questions, and talk it out with one of us so we can help you make the best decisions. The last area I want to address is the life insurance and how this will look at retirement. So first, let's look at the state paid or the basic life insurance. Now this policy is funded 100% by your employer. So this policy is equal to 1 time your annual salary. This coverage will terminate the end of the last day you work, therefore no longer effective once you retire. If you wish to continue this policy, you can apply for portability, and if you're interested in making this election, you will need to make this direct with the company within 31 days of your termination of employment. For members who purchased dependent child life coverage under the optional life plan, this policy will terminate upon retirement. Now, as far as looking at the optional life insurance benefits, this policy will differ depending on which plan you decide to retire under, whether you are choosing the closed plan with MPERS or you're choosing the year 2000 plan, this plan is what determines what category and how much coverage you can have with your optional life. So let's look at each of these separately. For our members who elect to retire under the closed plan, if you are currently invested in the optional life as an active employee, the maximum amount of coverage you can take into retirement is going to be $60,000. Now, if you carry a smaller policy amount that is less than $60,000 and you wish to increase your optional life purchase to the $60,000, we are able to join your state paid with your current optional life amount to help you reach that $60,000. Now, any of our members who are not currently enrolled on the optional life coverage as an active employee and you wish to have this policy heading into retirement, you can take this, your state paid insurance amount, and convert it into the optional life with the max being $60,000 under the closed plan. To have this available to you, you must retire from active employment. If this is of interest to you, your insurance rep or benefit specialist can help you make this election. Now, for our members who elect to retire under our year 2000 plan, those members who are currently invested in the optional life as an active employee may continue this coverage into retirement. This means if you carry the maximum of 6 times your annual salary, you can take this policy into retirement until you turn age 62. At that time, your policy purchase amount will reduce to $60,000, and this amount will be maintained until you choose to elect to a smaller amount. If you do not carry the optional life as an active employee and you plan to retire in the year 2000 plan, you will need to, and you want to take this policy into retirement, you will need to apply for this enrollment at least 4 to 5 months prior to your retirement. To make this election, you'll need to contact your insurance rep or contact the benefit department, and we'll be happy to direct you in completing this application. Now keep in mind, when applying for this application, you will need to complete a health assessment. That is required, and the insurance company does have the option to deny your application. So regardless of which plan you elect to retire under, here are a few things to keep in mind with the optional life insurance. Once you terminate your policy, this is permanent, for you are not able to re-enroll. As a retiree, you may decrease your purchase amount at any time during retirement, but members cannot increase the purchase amount. As a retiree, your optional life premium rate will increase to the retirement rate category, and this rate will continue to increase every time you turn the 5th number in age. Your monthly premium will automatically deduct directly from your monthly pension check from MPERS due to the fact that this is a MoDOT and Patrol sponsored plan. If you purchase spouse coverage, this policy may continue as you head into retirement. The spouse purchase amount cannot exceed amount that you hold for yourself. At the time of your death, the spouse can convert the optional life policy into an individual policy if the application is made within 31 days from your passing. Otherwise, the spouse policy will terminate. For your spouse to make this transfer to individual policy, he or she must contact your insurance rep or the benefits department for an enrollment form to change, and then this form must be received, completed, and submitted back to within 31 days. Now, our members who have the Universal Life policy with Trustmark or have the Allstate Universal Life, or members who have the Central United Life, or any members that have the cancer insurance policy, you can continue this policy into retirement, but it will require the member to manually pay directly that premium to the company. Plus, you are responsible to contact the agency at least a few months prior to your retirement to complete this step for your insurance reps and the benefit specialists do not have enrollment forms to help make this election. MoDOT employees who carry the voluntary life insurance, when you go to retire, the current purchase amount that you have will change because you can only retain a $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000 coverage amount heading into retirement. Now with this policy, you cannot terminate and later re-enroll. The spouse and children coverage that you have under this plan will terminate at the time of your retirement. Therefore, you will be a subscriber only for that policy. To continue this coverage, this will require manual payments directly to the company for your premiums as you head into retirement. This is not able to be a deduction from your state pension. If you have this policy, your insurance rep will help you in completing this step, whether you decide to take this into retirement or you decide to make this election to cancel. This is something that will be addressed when you meet with your rep. To keep this coverage, you will be required to complete an auto bank draft for your monthly payments to go directly to Arch Brokerage to make this a successful transition for you from active to retirement. Now, if you have any questions, you feel free. You can contact Arch Brokerage here at the number listed at 314-849-6363 with an extension 107. Now, our Missouri State Highway Patrol employees who carry the BMA MetLife insurance, when you go to retire, this policy has a maximum purchase amount of $50,000 for a retiree. Now, once our retiree turns age 70, the purchase amount will drop to $25,000. To continue this coverage, this will require manual payment directly to MBA MetLife. Your spouse and dependent child coverage continues at retirement as well. For those who have this policy, your insurance rep will help you in completing the step and taking this policy into retirement or making the election to cancel. Now, here's a few things as we prepare to get to the end of this presentation, but I would like to be able to think about. I suggest that you kind of ask yourself, think long term, who do I want on my medical coverage? You really need to think about that. If you're under your spouse's plan, look at what that policy is going to look like. Do you need to be rolling over to the MoDOT and Patrol plan prior to? Do I have the dependents listed that I need under there prior to my retirement? Just really think about who do I want on my medical plan, as well as your dental and your vision. Another thought is, as you're facing retirement and you're thinking of, oh, I get to retire on such and such date, also ask yourself, will I or will my spouse be age 65 or older at the time of my retirement? Because if so, you need to really remember, especially those members who are active and under the high deductible health plan, you really need to have that rolled over to the PPO plan, have it effective January 1st prior to going into retirement, because you're going to be Medicare eligible as well as you need to be prepared to start that enrollment. Now, any of our members who are actively employed with the department and you're still age 65, a couple months before you turn 65 and you're still actively working, you do need to enroll on Medicare Part A. That's the policy that has no premium, but you need to be proactive and get that election completed. Then as you continue to work, you will remain under the MoDOT medical plan with the active Anthem plan that we have. Then about 3 to 4 months prior to your official retirement, whether you're 66 or 67, then you need to make the election for their Medicare Part B. This is so important. You need to have, whether it's you or your spouse, need to have that Medicare Part A and Part B enrollment card in hand when you meet with your insurance rep or your benefit specialist to finalize your elections. We need to have a copy of that card to attach to the medical enrollment form to be able to move it into our Advantage plan and have it ready to go. So it does really require some planning and thinking about in advance. And another thought here, some of our members are married and one spouse works for the Department of MoDOT and the other one works for Missouri State Highway Patrol. Thinking about this scenario, let's say our Highway Patrol member has 25 years of service. The spouse who works for MoDOT has 10 years of service. Our patrolman is ready to retire. At this time, we are able, because we are one agency under the same plan, the patrol retiree could terminate his medical plan and be transferred to his or her spouse MoDOT plan because that person is still actively employed. That can be done at the time of your retirement. It would require 2 enrollment forms, one for the retiree, one for the active member. Both would need to complete it to have the effective dates to coincide. Now, moving ahead, let's say the MoDOT spouse continues to work and then is ready to retire at 15 years. At this time, it would be important for that MoDOT member to talk to their benefit specialist or insurance rep and consider looking at, do I need to go back to my spouse's retiree patrol plan? Because the patrol retiree completed 25 years of service, where the MoDOT employee completed 15 years of service. That can be done at that retirement as well, and it can be transferred over, and then the patrol retiree would become the subscriber once again, and then have a spouse under that policy. Because remember, it is the total years of service that depends and calculates the premium. So this would be a better selection to go back to the spouse who has completed the most years of service. So just food for thought, that is an option as well that I wanted to address. So this concludes my presentation on how your benefits look heading into retirement. And if you have any questions arise, I do advise that you please contact your local insurance reps regarding any of your questions, any of your election benefits that you would want to consider heading into retirement with. Now, one thing to keep in mind, your insurance reps and benefit specialists, we have a deadline to complete your enrollment forms. And that deadline is important to meet because we have to send your completed forms into payroll prior to your premium to be affected prior to your retirement. So I cannot stress enough the importance of being in the communication with your local insurance rep throughout that final year of employment, especially to make contact with your rep at least 4 months prior to when you're even considering retirement. Even if you're not, even if you're still pending the election with MPERS, be in contact with that rep. By sharing your intent to retire, this opens communication up regarding what your benefits look like now and what you wish to take with you, and that rep will have the available time to help you make some decisions and help aid you in a successful transition, whether they need to help you and guide you with getting Medicare enrolled, looking at some open enrollment options, just a lot of different pieces of the puzzle that we can help you put together. Then about a month and a half prior to retirement, your insurance rep will need to meet with you in person to address your retirement benefit elections and finalize your forms. Due to medical premiums being paid the month in advance, these completed forms need to be completed because your medical premium will increase or show that new retiree medical premium in that month before your retirement. So if you plan to retire April 1st, your March 15th and March 31st paychecks will have that new premium of your retiree listed there. Feel free to call our benefits department regarding any questions that you may come to mind. And once again, that number is 877-863-9406. We are always happy to help any way we can. Final word here, I recommend take time to plan. Take time to look ahead. Think about what you want your retirement benefits to be. Your retirement benefits are unique to you, and we want to help make the successful step for you from employment to retirement. These decisions have a lifelong impact on your retirement. So let your insurance rep help you make this correct decisions that best fit you. Thank you so much for your time. I hope this addresses all your thoughts and questions of how your benefits would look. And now let's turn to Lisa to see if there are any questions that she would like to share with the group.
No, I am just finishing up a couple right now, and that is it.
Well, fantastic. Julie, thank you so much for having us today. Thank you guys for everything that you do out there in the field and on the job. And you guys have a marvelous Thursday. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you attending today and giving our members this information about their health insurance and life insurance. Into retirement, that is one of the most common questions that we receive, and I'm always happy to send them your way. So, well, everyone, thank you so much again for attending today. And if you have any questions after this, please make sure that you go ahead and you can email, whatever your question is, you can email us at benefits@mpers.org. If it's a life and health insurance question, you can always contact Jill or Lisa. And then if it's a deferred comp question, you can always contact Kate. But usually people send us questions and then I kind of forward them on to employee benefits or deferred comp. So, but don't forget to fill out your survey. Whenever I close the webinar, it should populate in your window. It takes maybe about 5 minutes, just depending on how thorough you want to be. But we really appreciate your attendance today. You were our first webinar/seminar for the year. So congratulations on being our guinea pigs. And again, thank you so much for attending. I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, which is only one more day. So it's going to be a good rest of the week. All right. Thank you, everybody.